All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of OnTrack with DJ Tracktion. I know it's been a little while. We get scheduling conflicts here and there, so that type of thing's gonna happen. But I'm trying to bang out a bunch of these basically whenever the guest I have is available. Instead of just doing it on a certain day or time of the week, I'm just gonna get as many done as I can, and then have them in the stockpile. So if something like that happens again, we have some saved up, that can be released. So it's not 2 weeks, 3 weeks between episodes. Try to get one out every week. I thank everybody that has been listening so far and downloading. Keep doing that. Appreciate it. The downloads definitely help. If you have the time, go to iTunes and just rate us as well. 5 stars is awesome. I don't think anything other than that really counts. It's like I worked in a restaurant. I still do from time to time, actually. But I remember like their system for like surveys and everything like that, to get feedback was there was 5-star possibility, but anything less than 5 stars didn't count. Like wasn't positive for us. So if you got 4 stars, it wouldn't even go through. Nobody would care. It might as well have been 1 star. So if you like us a lot, give us 5 stars. And it's weird too, because when you think about it, like how 5 stars for service at a restaurant, like did it change your life that it was so awesomely perfect that it was 5-star worthy? Like no, most things are probably just 3 to 4 stars really. But as far as feedback goes and standing out, just give us 5 stars. I appreciate that. You can also subscribe on Stitcher, awesome app for podcasts. It's how I pretty much listen to everything. It's really hard to track podcasts like usage and stuff like that. Like it's easy for a website. Somebody goes to a website, they can track that right away. You got 3,000 hits this day or this week or whatever it is. For some reason with RSS feeds and podcasts, it's a lot harder to track. If someone just streams it from like my website djtracktion.com, it doesn't really it doesn't register anywhere. You can't really track it. I can track it as someone hitting and going to my website, which is kind of helpful, but it's not, you really don't know how long they're listening to, if that's the page they even went to. It could be, there's a whole bunch of stuff on djtracktion.com, so they could be anywhere. So subscribing on iTunes is a big help. The downloads that are trackable, so that's a big help as well. And Stitcher has their own way of tracking stuff too. So if you just stream from there, I think they know how to basically tell me that someone did that. So yeah, do all that. Appreciate it. So now on to why we're here this week. I got music producer and CEO of Strong Island Records, StrongIsland.com, Bobby Serra, aka LA, aka LA the Boss, aka Young Hef.
It never ends.
Yeah. Known as a lot of things. So say hello to everyone.
What's happening, everybody? How you doing?
We're here in the home studio. This is where you do most of the recordings for Strong Island Records.
This is pretty much where I did everything.
Nice.
From starting out, making music, and then getting into the radio. How we've been doing that one show on Monday night, the 8mm mix show for 12 years we started it. So we actually broadcasted the internet radio from here.
And that's at a time when, the internet wasn't popping like it is right now.
No, it wasn't. And yeah, there were only a few people really broadcasting internet radio, and it was amazing because I would first stumble across these stations, and then I'd listen to them, and then I'd go back the next day and I'd hear them again, and then late at night, and I'd be like, oh my God, they're on all the time. And I started to realizing that it was programming, and I started to say, oh, wait a minute, I heard this mix a couple days ago, or I heard them talking about this. So I kind of understood. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's not 100% live all the time. There's actually programming going on. And then I was like, that's interesting. That would be cool to have like a little mix show or a little radio station. So that's how it all started. And I think we were definitely like the first in all of Long Island broadcasting online radio. at least I'm sure I know a couple colleges were in the city. NYU, I think, was into that, but yeah, it was just a few people, here and there. So that's how it started. But yeah, we broadcasted the radio in here, and now it's back to just the recording studio. Where now we're at another location doing the radio separately. But yep, this is where it happens.
Nice, nice. That's especially like being totally independent too and lasting and have it run that long is a big accomplishment. You see a lot of them probably that started then too that probably just like tampered off and stuff and
yeah, well,
or maybe roll it into something else and something like even like NYU station and everything starting it. It's like they still have a machine behind it. Like that's a school. So
Yeah.
like they have a lot that would be keeping it up.
Absolutely.
To do it totally independent.
Yeah, because they're that's part of their what do you call the
part of the curriculum for some of the
That's
yeah
exactly
for some
what
of
I was
the
looking at. Thank you. See, it's nice to talk to somebody who knows those words. But yeah, it's part of their curriculum, and then they get their experience running the radio station. So but you have to remember one thing: you work from home, you don't have the overhead. So you're not paying the monthly rent, and all the other things, and it's a little easier when you're home based.
Daisy over here trying to get coffee.
Yeah. She's taken more than just coffee in her days.
And this has my coffee mug has a real tight cap on it
Yeah.
too. She's like, no, I'm gonna get into that.
As far as if everybody's wondering who Daisy is, Daisy's the studio dog. And she's definitely a wild animal. I rescued her from the North Shore Animal League. She's half pit, half shepherd, and she's just a lunatic, man. She takes everything. She will steal everything from you. I've seen her grab full Pepsi bottles, like liter bottles, and just walk away from them. I'm like, where are you going with that? What are you going to do? You going to go outside and open up a Pepsi?
Probably.
Like, bring that back. Yeah, so she's just she's a nut.
And she's very, though, unassuming.
Yeah.
She's like, quiet, she's so calm, she's
yeah.
extremely lovable and nice and everything, but you can't take your eyes off of her.
She gives you those eyes, you feel bad. She's like the dogs on commercial.
Yeah.
And it saved you. This dog has eaten in 8 months.
With the Sarah McLachlan playing.
Yeah. Don't let her fool you. She's definitely evil.
So where the start of it wasn't with, internet radio and Strong.com. What got you into music and then to actually be like, performer, you were DJing and then it all just kind of rolled from there.
Well,
was it something like, were you like 8, 9 years old and like, oh, this is what I'm going to do, or?
Well, I would say, I tell you, I've always, and everybody says, oh, I've always been into music. That's all great. But like, I remember I was record collecting 45s, going to Sam Goody and all these places that do not exist anymore. And, I would listen to the radio and my mom would take me to the store and I would drop down $5-10 and buy 5-10 of the 45 little pieces of vinyl. And I was just so into music, and when I I liked something, I heard on the radio, I liked it, I wanted to own it, I played it over and over it. And I just did that in my early years, and then I got to be about 13 years old, and my next door neighbor got a couple turntables and a mixer, and I was like, oh boy, so then I kind of followed in his footsteps, and then that was it. From like, I would say maybe 13 years old till about 17, 18, I was just DJing, and then probably around 17, 18, that's when I started, after playing all this music and listening to the intros, the breaks, and I started to understand how the songs were built, because back, in the day, they had structure. You had your intro, you had your verse, chorus, and then you had your break, and then you went back and whatever, bridge, chorus, and outro, and I just started to really understand the whole structure of songs and how they would add different instruments, and I was like, wow, I could do that, or I would first say, oh, I would have did this, or I would have put that there, and then I started to investigate it, and I went out, I bought that's right in that corner, that's the first keyboard I ever bought, that's the first thing I ever had, and it's got all the drums in there, it's old Casio, and I just started playing around with that. And then I started getting into like learning how you could sequence things, and I bought sequence things and loop them, and I bought an external sequencer. Then I bought a drum machine, and just little by little, just piece by piece, buying a piece of equipment, learning how to use it, incorporating with what I had, and next thing I know, when I was like 21 years old, I had a little setup, and I was making like little rap songs and stuff like that, in 12th grade.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
And that was obviously being the CEO of StrongIsland.com. I guess it's safe to assume this all happened in Long Island. Like,
Yeah,
born and raised.
In Long Island, and let me tell you something. Long Island is just, it's a great place musically because we do have a lot. There's a lot of styles. We're very versatile, cultured in Long Island. So there's a lot of music, a lot of different music, a lot of radio stations. It's a good influence, Especially now you don't really have to. Now you have satellite radio and all that shit. You could be anywhere, you could hear anything. But yeah, being in New York, you had a lot of radio.
And make it here, make it anywhere too.
You had a lot of radio, a lot of influence, yeah. But that's how it all started. I mean, and just a little tidbit is, I guess I was about 17, 18 years old. Maybe closer to 20. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth now, but somewhere in there is when I first heard the word Strong Island, and I just like, oh, that's the shit right there, So that's when I incorporated, not even with the intent of operating a business right away, but I always knew that I wanted to have a record company or somehow have a music company of some sort. So that's why I incorporated the name back then. I was 18, 19 years old, and I just knew I wanted the name, and I says, that's it. I want to own that name. So
that's very forward thinking to jump on it, especially.
I don't know what it was.
Then
I was a kid.
Exactly.
I wasn't ready to operate a business, but I was just like, you know what?
Even know that that's an important step to
I knew it. Yeah, I can't trace why I knew, but I just knew. Wait a minute, if I want that name, people when they start hearing it, because it started to circulate a little bit in the rap game, and originally, just a lot of people don't know this, but when you were a rapper trying to come out in the days, it's like you had more clout when you said you came from the Bronx or you came from Queensbridge or what I'm saying, or Brooklyn or whatever it was. When it was Long Island, it was like people kind of hid it. They didn't want to admit it. And then you had groups like Public Enemy and JVC Force, who were like proud of it. They they weren't ashamed to say that they were from Long Island, Strong Island, and that's the two groups that actually incorporated that name, and then it just started to circulate it, and now it's just like it's all over. I mean, everybody knows what Strong Island means.
That's what I think. That's what it was though. It needed its like cool like slang nickname. Cause you had like the Boogie Down Bronx and stuff, and Q Borough and everything. You needed it to be a little like.
Yeah, it gave us a little character, a little personality. Yeah. What's this Strong Island, man?
And it is pretty cool. Like for people that just not familiar with Long Island, it is really like everything is right there. Like you got like the very like more like city atmosphere, since technically Brooklyn and Queens are on like part of Long Island.
Yeah.
So the closer you get to that border, more city like.
Absolutely.
You can go.
It just not to interrupt you, but just to give like some people who may be listening to this outside of Long Island.
Yeah.
They don't really know the how it's situated, but Manhattan is an island in itself. Okay, and Long Island, which sits right next to Manhattan, contains Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau County, and Suffolk County. So there's 4 counties, and actually it's Brooklyn County is Kings County. Mm-hmm. So you have Kings County, Queens County, Nassau County, and Suffolk County. And they're all located geographically on Long Island, but technically Brooklyn and Queens are boroughs of New York City. So it gets a little confusing, but yes, there are parts of New York City that are located on Long Island.
On the physical island
exactly.
of Long.
So it's like, when the city's, popping and they're, bustling and everything, and people wanted to kind of just get away from the city, they just branched out Brooklyn, Queens, then they were Nassau, and then, Suffolk County. And then Montauk and the Hamptons, everybody knows that's just like strictly straight up rich, But Long Island is an amazing place. Literally, we could jump in the car right now, and in 30 minutes, 25 minutes without traffic, we could be on the bridge or in the tunnel on our way to Manhattan.
Yeah, and if you do the exact same thing in the opposite direction, you could go camping. Like
Exactly.
you could.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
it's one of those.
it's a really is a beautiful place to live, you know. But
expensive.
it's expensive,
yeah,
and I
that's how
don't
they
like
get
a
you.
lot of things with, you know, a lot of the we can get into a whole bunch of shit, but a lot of the young people are moving out. There's not enough revenue being generated. You know, most of the taxes that we pay end up going to New York State and other areas, you know. And, you know, there's been talk of actually Long Island breaking off and becoming its own state.
Yeah, I don't think that.
It here and there comes up, and you know, we don't want that to happen. But, you know, it's, you know, people do feel that way because we really do give a lot. We are one of the highest tax counties in all of the United States of America, and most of our money, most of the revenue that we bring in taxes goes to upstate New York and even in Manhattan. And, you know, a lot of people don't think that that's fair, you know. But yeah, it's a great place to live, and I'm definitely proud of it, you know.
Yeah, it's like it adds to that diversity is what adds to all the different musical styles and people that are producing, not just like like beats and everything, but making their own product. You know, making their own music. You see it even in the clothing. It's another thing that you jumped into with Strong Island Clothing Company.
Yeah.
Sicko. Wait, what's the O? Strong Island Clothing Company.
CO company.
Oh, it's just CO for company. I was just taking the C.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, you know what? The clothing company came in, you know, I was always dabbling in doing T-shirts and clothes since back in 1994. That's why, you know, I was the first person to actually use Strong Island on any sort of merchandise. That's like called first right of usage. That's like a poor man's trademark. So, but it really started to get serious is because when the music business changed and we started getting into MP3s and there was no physical product anymore, you know, and I was like, everybody's stealing music, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm making something. My product can be converted to digital information and just be stolen and shared all over without being paid for. And I was like, you know, and that's why I says, you know what, I need more merchandise. You can't convert a T-shirt into a digital file, send it to somebody, and then they open it up and they got a T-shirt.
You know what, though? With the 3D printing.
3D printing, there's going to be a cotton 3D printer.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why you got to make as much money now, because it's crazy, man. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and that's a weird thing when anybody would agree that if you went into a store, or if somebody else went into a store and just took something and then gave it to you, like, you can't be in possession of stolen property, you know? Like, everybody would agree, like, yeah, that's wrong, or that's illegal, or you can't do that. But when it comes to anything digital, really, it's like a blurred line almost. People don't view it the same way.
Because
same thing with movies.
It's not tangible.
Wait, yes, but also, like, when it comes to just, like, even with just bootleg CDs and DVDs and stuff like that, people really take a kind of a pass at that, like, oh no, that's all right, that's cool, I can spend five for you know, $5 on this movie that just came out or whatever, that's in the theater still and stuff like that. Like, they don't, it's just not viewed the same way, which is crazy because and even the views of content creators seem to vary. Like, everybody, like, it seems that the bigger names, I mean, you had it with like Metallica and stuff, are really against it. You know, they're just they can't understand it. They're like, no, it's stealing, this and that. But sometimes a lot of the smaller independent people are like, it's getting me out there, you know what I'm saying? It's exposure, it's spreading. But then when they get to that, to like the status of where it's weird too, because like sometimes you could argue that it's not affecting of like a Metallica, like it would affect somebody who's like just coming up or whatever and running their own site or whatever it is.
Somebody like Taylor Swift doesn't need Spotify.
I'm glad that you brought her up, because I seem to bring her up a lot of times, and I'm just glad I wasn't the one to do it this time.
Well, because she's relevant to a lot that's going on, whether you like her or you hate her. Right now, the girl's the biggest songwriter in the world, okay? And she's dominating. She makes the move from country to pop, and she's dominating. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long she can go on. I'm not a big fan of her. I honestly, I don't even know one song she sings. I have no interest in even knowing. But you got to give credit where credit's due. But she recently pulled all her stuff from Spotify. And she says she's not making the money that she should be making. And that's all fine and dandy. She doesn't need Spotify. But Spotify is a, you know, it's a interactive type of radio station where, you know, it will actually introduce new artists to you according to the styles and likes and dislikes of things that you listen to. So for an artist coming up, Spotify is key because you could break on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but like you said, you get to that point where you know, all of a sudden you don't need Spotify, you don't need these, you know, free things and everything, and then you start attacking them, you know, and saying it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, you know. So it's a catch-22, you know. It helps people get out there, but at the same time, it is, you know, it is giving away a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people sometimes don't realize what it takes to actually make that. Like when it's a finished product, and especially when it's just in an MP3 form, they're like, oh, you know, this was probably took 20 seconds to make or something like that.
Yeah.
They don't understand the process of the years of being able to not only just like if it's a band, like learning the instrument, learning your craft and everything that actually goes into that finished product. If you didn't take all that time, that finished product is not gonna come out to be the song that you enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna sound like shit basically.
Well, music in general has been devaluized. Number one, because there's so much of it now. You know, it's like, you know, whenever there's more of a supply than there is a demand, all of a sudden it's not worth as much. So you have just this tremendous amount of music that's out there. You have these little kids making music on their phones, on their computers, on their devices and stuff like that. People see that. I've seen the videos of a 7-year-old kid, a boy. I've seen both, and they freaking making, you know, in 5 minutes they make a whole freaking track that sounds better than half the shit that's on the radio. You know, people see that, and that's not good for the music industry. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's different. Like you look at a band and those musicians who spend literally decades or have been playing since they were 8 years old, learning the guitar or learning the keyboards or playing the drums. And when they come together and make a record, there's so much that goes into it. You know, there's so much time, there's so much talent, creativity, and the recording and everything like that. You can't compare that to some hip-hop dude grabbing some loops, throwing 3 or 4 loops in that sound together, arranging them, and then spitting, you know, a few bars on it. To me, it's like apples and oranges. And I'm not taking anything away from that craft of hip-hop, you know, of that art. But I think in today's technology, it's gotten too easy to make music. And that hurt music in general.
It is the double-edged sword of technology. You know, it does. It helps in a lot of ways. And then another thing, like, is it being so accessible too. So if it was easy to make, everybody had the way to make it, but it wasn't getting out there, it might not be that big of a problem because it wouldn't seem like a flooded market.
Yeah.
It's not getting out instantaneously so easy.
Yeah.
As I've said that before, it's like the staying power of songs just it's practically non-existent now.
Yeah.
You know, I remember hearing a few songs where I was like, man, like 10 years ago that would be like a mixtape staple. You know, like you couldn't wait to see who had it on the mixtape first, and then it would probably be on everybody's because it would be such a hot song, would last 3, 4, 5, 6 months that way, and then maybe until it even blew up on the radio if it did and stuff, and then it'll last however long after that. Now there are some songs that you hear that would have been that it's like overnight. It's one night. It's like, oh, that song dropped. Everybody listened to it. It's in a blog or two or whatever it is, and then the next day it's just the next one, and nobody talks about it again. And you're like, wow, that song would have lasted for the whole year or whatever.
Yeah, no, there's a couple reasons for that because compare right now. There's a lot more music that keeps coming, that keeps getting released. Every day. It's just incredible. So it's hard to ignore a lot of the new stuff that comes out. You want to play it, so they kind of give up on that, and they want to play. DJs always want to play the new shit nobody else has. You know how it is. It's gotten worse and worse over time. But I think that another reason is the attention span of a lot of the younger generation these days. I hate to say it, but they hear something a few times and they want to hear something else real fast. Like they don't want to hear that same thing over and over again.
It's mixed a little because sometimes, like, and as a currently working DJ, like it's hard to keep up with all the music. It's damn near impossible. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
And and that thing of like, oh, who has it first, or have the song that nobody has, almost doesn't exist anymore, because everything is available to everybody, you know. And on top of that, it's like a lot of people don't want to hear something that they don't know. When back in the day, like, you'd hear something and it'd be like, oh shit, I haven't heard that before, and it would catch your ear or something.
Yeah,
now it's like, I mean, it happens so many times where I still get stuff like that's new and that maybe not have come out yet, or is about to come out, or hasn't caught fire yet, and you play it and like someone's like, oh, play whatever, some Pitbull song, whatever it is, you know, and then 3 weeks later, like, that same person will request a song that they just told you to shut off because they didn't know what it was, because now it finally got to the radio and they play it, you know, 80 times an hour or whatever, and it's the same songs they're requesting, or they're bringing to you on your phone, like, hey, play this one. It's like, fucking, it's on your phone, listen to it there then, or well, whatever the case is.
Absolutely, because, you know, human psychology, people want to listen, they want to listen to things that they know everybody else is listening to. You know, it's like,
you want to be part of the crowd, part of the in crowd, you know?
Yeah. You was just like somebody driving down the street and playing something. They want to blast something that everybody can recognize, you know, the hottest shit that's out or whatever. But, yeah, you know what? It's weird. You know, you hit on something is like, years ago, we always wanted to hear new music. We liked when something was new. Like, what is this? You know, as long as the DJ wouldn't play it if it wasn't good.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So it's like, you know, you know, give me more. You know, I want to hear stuff. You know.
And not to cut you off either, but do you think that probably is because it wasn't easy to get stuff back then or whatever? It would be exposed to new things. Now it's so everybody coming out with everything. It's always there. You can get it in seconds and stuff. That it kind of just killed that vibe.
It's almost like everybody's there's so much music and so many avenues and everything. It's like almost like everybody's become their own little music critic in their own way, you know, and everybody has so much control over what they listen to today, where years ago there wasn't as many outlets, and you were kind of like, you were just dying to hear music, you know, regardless of where, you know, if it came from the radio or whatever. But now I just think there's so much of it coming at us. As soon as we wake up in the morning, we turn on the computer, the email, the Facebook, the Twitter, Instagram.
It's like the first thing you do when you get up. It's like checking the newspaper. Like instead of the morning newspaper, you open your phone and go right to like Facebook and all these social media outlets.
It's like, man, you know, it's like, you know, and years ago, you know, used to release music every Tuesday. Yep. Now there's so much freaking music, it just comes out. This shit's coming out on Sundays.
You couldn't wait for Tuesday, like, oh, there's like a whole bunch of new stuff that's gonna come out.
No, it's just people don't even like. There's not that rule doesn't even.
Yeah, it's
go
like, why wait to Tuesday?
Always Tuesday. Always music got released on Tuesdays.
But wasn't that because of like how was it, like kind of like how it was tracked, like SoundScan wise? It was and stuff all like to that?
Do. I'm not exactly sure, but it was a timing type of thing with you know the radio, the weekend, the clubs, everything. I don't know. It was just the best day to release it. It was after the weekend. Everybody was back by Tuesday. Everybody was settled in. New music came out. They had time to absorb it, and then I don't know.
And then hear it in the club that weekend.
Yeah, it was just a timing thing. It was just the best day to get the best results of releasing something.
Like why movies come out on Fridays.
Exactly.
Same thing.
You don't want to come out with music on a Friday. You have all this other all these big blockbuster movies coming out. You want your own day, you know. So maybe Monday was a little too early. People kind of getting back to work, and then by Tuesday everybody was settled in. They're like, oh, you know, okay, then. So probably has something to do with that, but I'm not 100% sure.
I gotta say, I was like, that's one of the things that I do miss about it is the physical media. You know, like going in, getting, you know, whether it was a cassette and a record, a CD, and actually, like, I always looked forward to like going into the booklet and seeing who did what, like, oh, who's, even especially with like rappers and stuff, like just to get what their real names might have been, you know, and see where it comes up, who produced what, especially like samples that were used and everything. Reading the thank yous, that they had lyrics in it, like the lyrics to the songs and stuff. Like all that, like connected you to it, you know. Now, it's there's nothing there to, like, make it memorable. Yeah, you know.
What did you do when you bought a CD? You know, you put in the CD and you listened to it and you looked at the artwork and you read everything. You know, you kind of wanted to know who did what. You know, who worked on this, and you know, even, you know, when they had the words to the songs and stuff like that.
That was the best, you know, especially for rap albums. That was great.
Exactly. But yeah, it's weird because it's like, you know, we lived for that as producers and remixes, engineers, you know, all those people who worked on that song. You know, sometimes we did stuff just to get our name on the record. We didn't get paid. And it's like, you know, but that record is history. That record's always going to be out there. That CD is always going to be out there. You open up that CD and you open up the insert, and there's my name right there. Whether I engineered it or produce it, I'm on that record. That's history. And it kind of disappointed me because ever since you go to MP3s, there's no information whatsoever except the name of the song, the artist, and that's it. There's not even
sometimes they'll put the producer if it's somebody that was known.
Sometimes they'll put the producer or the record company, but very rarely. And
you know what's in it more is like maybe what blog it came from. If that's what's like in the metadata, if you download something from like a blog or whatever like that, it'll say like, oh, you know, 2dopeboys.com or whatever it was. Yeah. You know, like that'll be in there, but not anything to actually do with the song.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I remember it was quite a few years back, but we had one of the DJs here, and he's playing this party break, and it was something that I did, like years ago, and I'm like, and I heard it, and I'm like, I did a double take, and like people play this now. It's like I did like two really big ones, one with DJ Ev and one with Tom LaRock. Okay, so these probably are two of the biggest party breaks like ever, you know, and I was like, yo, I says, I did that. He's like, you did? You really? And I'm like, does it say anything? And it said, the artist was some crew, like they just took freaking possession.
I was going to say, and what that could be sometimes, I see it in some of like the record pools that are now, which are now like all MP3 pools for DJs. Sometimes it'll be like, I think it's another thing, just attaching the name to get the name out there. It's like, it'll be somebody's remix or whatever, but maybe they put an intro or they do something to it, so they put like, you know, so-and-so edit, you know? So it's like they didn't do the remix to it, but maybe they made a 8-bar intro for it or something like 16-bar intro or whatever.
And then they just take possession of it. That's it.
And then it's knowing that I don't know if it's purposely knowing that like, oh, people are going to confuse that person for making the song. I don't know if that plays into it a lot as much as it's just like, you know, it's a hot song, I'll do an intro, whatever it is, put my name on it too. I did this intro that, you know, may or may not have took any time or anything at all, but and it's a way to get the name out there. And there goes.
Oh, that's right. That phone's a lot more worse than that.
I was gonna say, I'm actually surprised that it's still that phone, the Windows phone.
Yeah, it's coming on 3 years, I think.
Yeah, that's a long time for.
And honestly,
for now.
It got better as it went with all the updates and the software updates. It actually got better.
Mine, I gotta say, I don't stay with the updates on my iPhone like I should be. I have the 5 or the 5S. It might be the 5S. I'm not sure. Probably the 5S, because what happens is every time I'm due for an upgrade and my phone's going on the fritz and I need to get a new one, is just a few months before the brand new one comes out. So I get stuck into getting the one before by like a month or two. But I also don't I'm probably a few updates behind, but I noticed that it's so weird that like it starts glitching in little weird ways and everything after a while. Like it'll run smoothly for like the first year I had it, but then if you're a few updates behind, stuff doesn't work as good.
All the programs, the apps are being updated too.
But if I don't update that's the thing though. If I don't update anything, shouldn't it just work the way it was? Like that's what I never understand that. And sometimes like when I had the iPhone like 3G and shit, and that had happened, I'm like, yeah, why is this happening? They're like, oh, have you updated it? I'm like, no. They're like, oh, you should do that. I'm like, yeah, but it's all the same that it was, you know, last week, last month, last year. Why would that change anything? What the fuck?
Freaking technology.
What I wanted to say when you were talking about like just, you know, sometimes engineering a song, whatever it was, maybe not getting paid just to get your name in the credits and stuff. It's very funny to me. Like that is a very, like in the art world and creative world, like is very kind of just in that bubble. Like no one's gonna be like, oh, working at McDonald's, like, you know what, I'm just gonna work the register today to hopefully someone notices me or whatever and not get paid for it. You know, like it's only in, and it's a lot of different avenues, and not just arts. It happens, I know it happens in sports,
anything in a creative or something that you have some type of talent that you have to showcase somehow, you know. So you're looking for the opportunity to showcase and hope somebody sees it, and then you'll get paid from that job, you know. So that's what I think it is. I mean, you know, you're just willing to.
It's just crazy that it even happens on that scale of like artists, like the artist is obviously getting paid to do that record and stuff. Like there's a label behind it or whatever, and you might have done work for it that you're not getting paid for just for that recognition and to be attached to it. So later on, you can be like, oh, I worked on this, so now pay me this. You know, it's just
absolutely.
There was something that came out recently about. It wasn't a festival, it was some type of like conference or whatever, and Oprah Winfrey was like the big sponsor of it or organizer or whatever it was, and there was something about getting local. I think this was in San Francisco, getting local artists to perform at one of the stages and them not paying them. So she did a blog post about it and was like, this is just ludicrous. Like someone who's worth billions, one of the richest women in the world, one of the richest people in the world almost, and they're trying to get free work out of artists. And the irony of it was, I think a lot of the show was about, helping creative people, whatever, this and that and everything, but then getting people to work for free for that, for that conference. And she was just like, why would I ever do that? And it's just, when I saw that, it was weird the scale that it's on. And then you mentioning it as well, that it just doesn't happen with like, I see it all the time, just when trying to get club work and this and that and everything. Like the game they play is ridiculous to try to get you to provide a service and not really compensate you the way you should be for it. Whether even private events and stuff. Like I said, I know someone who's a professional boxer, and it's the same thing where like it's hard for him to get fights sometimes if you can't guarantee selling 30 tickets to the fight and this and that. And I always have that argument, like, we just talked about how much time and effort and practice and this and that it takes into making that product or training and everything to be able to step into the ring and stuff. It's like, where would you at what point do you exactly want me to do your promoting job? You know what I'm saying? And like and getting people to come. It's like that. It's backward ass thinking.
It's like that in everything where you need to bring people to an event. The promoters have stopped being promoters.
I was gonna say, why are they even called promoters?
Exactly. They're promoting, but yet they're bringing in all people that will either work for free or barely nothing and bring in people to their event that they're promoting. So it's like, what are they really promoting?
What part are you doing?
They're passing on the promotion tasks to all the people involved in the show. And they expect, okay, each person brings in 10 people, we get, and then we have 100 people in there, whatever, 200 people. So, it's been like that. It's like that in the clubs now. It's like clubs, they hire bartenders to
Same
bring
thing
in,
with followings.
So you're hiring your DJ that hopefully he has a following and he can bring people in.
And not just a DJ. It's usually, you can tell right away if there's more than 3.
Yeah.
If it's like 4 or 5,
they're hoping that rather than one DJ bring in 15 people of his friends, they hire 3 DJs, they each bring in 15 people, that's 45 people, then they got 3 bartenders who bring in 10 people each, and then all of a sudden, just by hiring the crew, there's 100 people in their establishment. So now that takes off a lot of the burden that they have, because everything else on top of that is up to them.
It's so crazy though, because it's such a short-term game. It's such it's like it's a hustle that you don't. Why would you want to do that day to day? Because that's what it is. You have the day to day. You have to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Because say one of those DJs or whatever starts working somewhere else or this and that. Same thing with bartenders. People go to school. Whatever the case is, like you have to find new people to replace that. And nobody. It's like back in the day. You could go to Exit whatever day or the Tunnel, whatever it was, any club, and because it was hot. Like the club was hot.
Exactly.
It wasn't. Just people's friends that work there. So when that person goes somewhere else, nobody's going to keep going to your spot because they only went there because their friend works there.
That's exactly what I was going to point out.
So fucking stupid.
You're 100% right. Is you're making people are coming to your establishment because of the people who are employed there and not because of the actual establishment itself. You're not creating the experience of the establishment. And that's why, through StrongIsland.com, I run a lot of the radio and television shows, and I always tell people that be careful, don't make your show based solely on the guests that you bring in. you know, because you want to get people to want to see you. Whatever guests you bring in, that adds on to it. But if you're just depending, if all of your viewers are all being dependent on about who you have coming into the show this one week, what if what if you don't have a good guest? Then nobody's going to watch the show. So you have to work on yourself, your brand, your entity, that you're either an establishment or a show or whatever you do, because that's where it comes from. Not buying, you know, it's easy, you know, you just bring in a couple people that have a following, okay, and all of a sudden you have these people. But why are they coming there? They're not coming because of the show, they're not coming because of the event, they're not coming because of the establishment.
And on top of that, they're not like, I can't speak for the bartenders because it's probably mostly tips, but DJ wise, like those type of places that do that, they're not trying to pay the DJ at all in a lot of cases, and if they are, it's extremely fucking low. And what it does, it kills the vibe, because if you have somebody come on at 9, 10 o'clock or whatever, and it's quote unquote opening, but they brought 20 of their friends, like they're not gonna play opening set that warms up the room properly, that gets it ready for the night and stuff. They're just gonna play to their friends,
because they go, the shit that they want to play.
Yeah, exactly. And it just makes for like a weird night in the place. It's just, there's no cohesiveness, you know? And then again, it's something that doesn't last. So as the owner, that is what I never understood. Like, how do you get to be in the position of going through whatever you went through to own a place, and then be so short-sighted in the way that you run it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, because the owner hands it off to the promoter. The promoters are not promoters anymore. They rely on all the people that they employ for the night. So it's just really it's a bad business right now.
And again, it's only, I was gonna say, this actually flies in the face of that a little. I was gonna say it's only in that creative field, but when you do it to bartenders, maybe not. But then again, you're usually just in that field anyway. You're relying on tips and stuff. Yeah. So it's not like, you know, you're not getting paid and all and this and that. If like the place isn't busy, you wouldn't have made that anything anyway. Yeah. You know, and that's just part of the game when it comes to that. But yeah, it's nuts, man. The whole following thing, and I've seen it even in you know, I have a friend of mine who's a stand-up comic. You know, and put together a night, was doing open mics first, obviously, and putting nights together where it's the same thing. It's like he'll get an opportunity to maybe do a bigger showcase, maybe, or a bigger open mic or something like that, but it has to bring X amount of people or sell X amount of tickets.
It happens, yeah, absolutely, in comedy too. I hear the stories like that all the time. It's just it's the whole mindset. I mean, look at all of us. Oh, how many people like your page? How many people follow you? You know, it's like, oh, we'll have all followers, everything.
Yeah, and they
do. Who follows me? It's like,
and they have started clamping down on stuff like that too. Like YouTube, like there are established artists that lost millions of views because they figured out that they're not real. They're bots and this and that. They're not, or they're paid for. Yeah. They're not real. Obviously, they're not going to get everybody. So somebody just coming up that might have like a few thousand or even up to 100,000 views and stuff. Maybe they don't catch that person, but some of the bigger ones that they've definitely been.
Yeah, I heard some people lost like a million of their. Yeah. You know, on Instagram and YouTube. I heard.
Sometimes it's interesting too, because like, again, the attention span is so small that people don't really take the time to look at it. But if you see a video that has, you know, 100,000 views, and you look at the rest of their videos, and it's like 25 or 130 and this and that, like you'd be like, oh, you used your tax money to get those views, didn't you? Like you see when it was posted. Sometimes you can tell by the interaction in it too, like how many upvotes and downvotes it has, the little thumbs up, thumbs down. Sometimes from the comments as well, but I know for me, like I've watched a whole bunch of videos on YouTube and I've never commented on any of them. Yeah. So like I feel like you can get, you know, into the thousands of views without, and maybe only have 3 comments. Like I feel like that could be possible.
No, it's true.
And legit. But if you're putting out a lot of stuff and it's only, if you have something consistently building up to that, all right, you can be like, all right, this guy's legitly doing his thing. But if it's like all over the place with different ones, you're like, something fishy might be going on here. You know?
True.
And I remember like trying to get into certain places, clubs and this and that and everything, and in their like application, it would be not like, oh, how long have you been doing this, or you know, do you have a demo I can listen to, this and that. It was like, how many Facebook friends do you have?
Oh my god, yeah.
And I was just like, and when I see that, like, I was just like, okay, peace out. Like, I already know what you're about.
It's true.
I'm not trying to support that at all. Goodbye. And again, it's hard because sometimes you want to like try to. It's the foot in the door thing. So I mean, there are places that I thought maybe that I have tried it at where it's like, all right, let's see how this goes. Maybe it could be beneficial. This and that. And it's for the same thing you said. It's like, all right, I can say I played this place. I can say I played this place. But you also gotta think like most of the industries like that are small, kind of not close knit, but people know each other, right? Yeah. So you're also gonna start getting a reputation of like, oh, you can use this guy because he only costs $100. You know, you can get him for $100 or whatever it is, or and this and that, or not at all, or he'll bring 20 people, or it's like it kind of puts you into a box. It could very quickly put you into a box, you know, because you're not looking at it like, oh, that this promoter talks to this promoter, or this owner knows this guy too, or whatever. And this and that. And I saw it actually happen. I saw it happen right in front of my face once where one of the things when I first, you know, I had lived in Ohio for like 3 years and stuff. I moved back to New York in 2008. And I was doing more like audio engineering and stuff like that. And it was probably from 2005, 2004 to 2008, I really wasn't DJing at all. Like, I was just doing the audio work and stuff. So then I moved back here. I started DJing again. I was like, all right, you know, I gotta build up because now I'm starting from fucking zero again. And one was like, it was when Glow was still around too. So it was to open up for. It was Paulie D. So not even like he's a good DJ, but he'll get 3,000 people there, no problem, you know. So and to do it, it was one of those things. You got to bring people like the week before or whatever, and this and that, and so. I hit it hard too. I was like, yo, everybody I don't care if you go in and then go out the next, and then go right back out and go home. I just needed a tick for you going in, like for them to count that. And I hit like fucking 50 something people, whatever. And like I won the contest. And then it was crazy. Whatever happened, like next week or the week after, like he didn't even perform there and I never got to open for him. But other stuff that I had went to that involved any of those promoters, they were like, oh yeah, put him on. He's good for 50 people. And I'm like, no, I'm not good for 50 people every fucking time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's another thing. Like, how do you expect for someone if they're doing that method, it's usually going to be somebody pretty new, right? They're not going to go to, let's say, as far as people known on Long Island and the city and stuff, they're not going to go to like a DJ Chops or you know, whoever, like DJ Riz from Crooklyn Clan, this and that and stuff. Like, they're not going to go to them and be like, oh yeah, we'll put you on if you bring 100 people. You know what I'm saying? That's not happening. So it's usually people that don't have as much name recognition and stuff like that. So first of all, how do you expect them to get 50 people anyway? If they could do that, then they would already be doing their own thing. If 50 people were following them every fucking place that they went, they wouldn't need you at all. They would already be that person and be getting hired on that. So you're relying on that, and then you're thinking like it's gonna happen every week. Like in the same spot, like that they'll be able to do that, you know, especially if it's 2, 3, or 4 other DJs that you're doing to at that spot, where it's like, oh, they might like an hour's worth of the music because they're your friends, but maybe not the next person on or the person after that or whatever. Again, it's mind-boggling me, like the thought process. Like, wouldn't you want as an owner to make your spot the spot and be like and hire people that you know are confident?
Yeah, because you want people to go there on any given time. It doesn't matter who's the DJ. The spot, the vibe is that good.
And they know that that it's gonna be good because regardless of who is spinning, they know that they hire talented, competent,
they have the best music there.
Experienced
they have the best
people.
DJs. Yeah. The bartenders are all so nice. They're all so friendly and stuff. You're creating a experience.
You know what? It's weird too. Now I was just thinking about that. Like it now the owner is doing like the opposite of what they want their crew to do or their DJs to do or anybody who's just trying to. Now they're attaching their name to the people that they're hiring and you know. So now when those people leave, you're like, yeah, you don't have anything. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It's not making your name or the name of your place hot.
Absolutely.
It was just attaching it to all the people that you tried to G and to bring in a bunch of people.
That's where you're relying on the people, and that's what I'm saying. You have to create an experience, and that's why people go. Whether you go to a fast food restaurant or you go to a amusement park or you go to anything entertainment, you're going there to be entertained and to have an experience. You know, it's one thing whether you're going to a show and you're going to see a particular person, a particular comedian, you're going to watch a movie, there's a particular actor you want to see. That's all fine, but it's still ultimately the experience. And people, it's all about money. It's not about building the experience, about how can I get people in here to pay that night. They don't even care about the next night. They're just worrying about that night.
And it's crazy. It's not even for, and it's not for, if you think about it, it's all about the money. He was like, all right, what's the best way to make long-term money? It's like, it's all about the money for that fucking night.
Are you trying to make money?
Week.
No, that's the problem. Yeah, and it's not long-term. They're not building. How many successful clubs, they just continued to go on and on for so long? I mean, it's not easy to go on forever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the good clubs, they go on for a while, and they go for as long as they can. And I mean, music is always changing. Things, you know, you have generations change.
There's different trends
older.
and
So, but the successful clubs, they can get a few years. They can do their thing. I mean, you know, what is up with like Webster Hall? Okay, all right, they may not be the most groundbreaking club in the world, very touristy and everything, but the fact of the matter is that place has been in business for decades and decades. Yeah. Okay, and you go there, it doesn't matter who's DJing. You have an experience there, okay? And I know a lot of real club people say, oh, that's really not a true club, whatever. But listen, my experience, okay, I went there a few times, had a great time, went with a few different people. I mean, there's so many different rooms. Mm-hmm. There's so many different types of music. Different vibes. There's the side rooms where they have like ambient drum and bass. They have the big room, the main entrance, which is all the party music. They have downstairs, which is the basement. Gets all that used to be all like the hip hop, R&B, and reggae, but I think it's different now. And then upstairs where they have all the techno, the trance, all the crazy stuff. I mean, you could spend the night there and just go from room to room, and they create an experience. It's a perfect example of a club that creates an experience, and people from all over the world, they go there because they know that they can have a good time. They don't care necessarily who's spinning there. It's just a guaranteed good time.
Exactly. I was a little just like my age-wise and stuff, I had just missed like all like Tunnel, Exit, Sound Factory, mm-hmm. Limelight, all that stuff. Yeah. Like that I was too young when they were all kind of getting phased out and stuff like that, but I did get a chance to DJ at Exit before it was no longer, and it was one of the side rooms and stuff that I did, and that was the first time I was in there. I'm like, this is fucking insane. It's a huge fucking place. It was the same type of setup. They had the main room where whatever the party music of the night was going on. They had upstairs hip hop room and stuff, a lot of different side rooms and everything, and thousands of people basically. And I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. And you don't see. It's very rare you see stuff like that. But, you know,
that's a good example, too, though, because those clubs, they did rely on a lot. They not necessarily the one DJ, but the DJs were a main part of those clubs, like the Limelight, and stuff like that, and, Shelter, and just... So those clubs were staples, and they went on for years, but... Comparing those clubs, and those are some of the biggest clubs that we had, you named them right there, why are they gone and Webster Hall's still going on?
You know what?
Because Webster Hall is less relying on the DJ as the name. And the Exit and all these Limelight, they always had to have the top DJs spinning there. And Webster Hall, it's not always necessarily about that. So it's just to kind of compare, why does Webster Hall continually to go on? I mean, you're talking, I don't know when they started, but from my experience, they've been doing their thing for 20, 30 years.
Also, sometimes it can be like the behind the scenes stuff that goes on for some of the places as far as like management, owner-wise and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had Peter Gation who owned a lot of the places, or it was involved in a lot of them, like Limelight, Tunnel, a couple others. And, with whatever went on with that story and stuff, but they kicked him out of the country. Yeah. So something weird like that could even play a part in it too. And then when you get new owners that maybe take it in a different direction or not doing that same thing, where it's different people, DJs and stuff, that they're more reliant on that name than the vibe of the place. Yeah. Because even back then, there was still a little bit of the of that same like kind of like promoter thing, but where you were trying to get people to come in, but it wasn't like for the people that they sub hired. Mm-hmm. You know, like the promoter was the person getting the people in and stuff and throwing a party, putting it together. They would find the DJ.
Because you know why? Because the people knew that dude knew how to throw an event. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like they proved themselves over and over. They've held successful parties and events. Now today's promoters, these guys come a dime a dozen. What are they doing? They're doing little fucking clubs here and there. Have these guys ever pulled off a major freaking event? Something that was so successful that people just still talk about? And that's the difference. Some of these big city promoters from back in the days, they were just proven. They knew how to throw a party, you know? So I think that has a bit to do with it too.
That's another technology thing too, though. You know, because like now instead of having to do the legwork of getting people and yourself and getting flyers out there to get the word out and stuff like that, people think, oh, 5,000 Facebook friends, I make an invite, everyone will see it, and they'll just magically come because they saw this
I don't have to make flyers, I don't have to do any street, work, I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is push a couple buttons and social media is going to take care of it for me. And that's so untrue.
And that's also another reason why they can get a lot of the newer DJs coming up and this and that and stuff. And why there are so many of them is that technology thing too. It's so fucking easy to DJ now. Like, and that's all there is to it. Like, if you want to DJ, you fucking can, because guess what? It's really easy to do it. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to be good at it or to, know what you're doing with it. But if you want to mix two songs together and this and that, or not just, 4 hours worth of music together, you can do it very fucking easily. Yeah. And the cost of entry is so much lower. Mm-hmm. It all being digital makes it easy with people, you see it all the time, even on, it's so crazy, even in DJ forums, people sell whole hard drives of fucking music and shit. It's like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. That's what you're doing by giving somebody else a whole hard drive.
It down. And that's why I hate, it's like, when I was active DJing, years ago, it was like there wasn't as many DJs either. So you stood out easy. More. You knew, when I was in high school, there was probably only 2 or 3 guys who even knew the concept of DJing,
I only knew of 2 in my high school. Yeah, I was one of them.
I remember 2, and I'm just saying 3 because maybe there's probably somebody else. But honestly, there was.
I could say 3 actually.
I was the DJ. Everybody knew me as the DJ.
Yep.
It was just as simple as that. Anybody had a party, they hired me. I would bring my shit there. It's just, when you lugged all your records and all your gear and everything, and you had that shit by the pool on a table, and then people are split, and it's just like, man, the thing that we did, yeah.
And I gotta say though, I just being that double-edged sword, it's easier. I can't fault anybody, right? Because it all happens when nobody chooses when they were born and how old they are. You know what I'm saying? So somebody who's coming up, if they were born in 2000 and they're 14 and they want to start DJing, you can't get mad at them because he bought a controller. You know what I'm saying? And it's because
you can't fight it.
Yeah, it's like if you can rock on it, you can rock on it. So I'm not mad at that. It's just that I think it's a lot that the time and the cost entry, that barrier is so low. Not only was the equipment pretty expensive to get turntables, mixer, something decent to use out, and then to get the time to go find the music and records and everything, and it was a lot. Records weren't cheap, man. They were, and you'd spend $5, $6, $7, $8, and it might only have 2 songs on it.
This is the thing that gets me, okay? And I'll give you an example as DJing, and I'll give you an example as producing music, okay? As far as the DJ is concerned, okay, 85-90% of DJing is matching the tempos, okay? When you have 2 records or 2 CDs and you have 2 pitch controls and they're not the same tempo, you have to adjust each one. And that takes a little bit of skill and practice because each, depending on how far you move the pitch, and then they don't necessarily lock perfectly, so you have to keep an ear. If it starts to drift, you have to understand which one is actually drifting and which one needs to be sped up or the other one needs to be slowed down. It was something that took a little bit getting used to, okay? Now you throw in Serato, and all of a sudden you can see the waves on the screen. and you can see the kick drum.
Not only that, it tells you what the BPM is in it.
So it tells you the BPM, so it gives you a heads up, so you know which one has to be slowed or sped up. Then you're watching the screen, and everybody's got Serato face, and they're watching the screen. They're not even listening barely, and they're just getting, pitching the adjustment and matching.
It's like playing a video game.
Okay, it's like playing a video game. Okay, now throw on top of that, and a lot of these controllers you have a sync button, and it automatically matches the tempos for you. Okay, so now
there's too much effort to move the slider and match the numbers.
From that point on, what are you doing? I don't understand what you're doing. You're pushing buttons now.
What's crazy about that
is selecting. That's what you're doing. You're selecting the music, but you're not really DJing the music. DJing stands for disc jockey.
It is though a part of, and this is why I think you stand out more. Like, yeah, anyone can grab that equipment and call themselves a DJ and DJ, but actually picking the music is a huge part of that.
Well,
the program
that's
is
what I said.
Huge part.
Matching the tempos is 80% of it. Selection is obviously the other percentage, and you could say 50-50, whatever it is.
But if you match tempos all day long of shit people don't want to hear,
but it's still going to be on beat, okay? And you could be the best selector in the world. And if you don't know how to beat match,
no one's gonna want to stay there.
It's going to be an absolute mess.
Yeah, it's going to be painful.
It's going to be a train wreck.
It's like ear terrorism.
I'm okay. Like, I understand. Like I just mentioned before, disc jockey meaning disc. DJ disc jockey, and you had your disc or your records, and then you had your disc became the compact discs, and that's fine. And now we're at a point where there's really no more discs, and there's nothing spinning anymore, and that's cool and all. But as long as you're controlling the tempo and the selection and mixing, I'm fine with it. That's the main thing. Once you push a sync button and it matches the tempos, and you just tell the laptop. I mean, you might as well just do voice recognition. You might as well just hit the sync button.
Siri, play this next.
Yeah, and just say,
sync it up.
Mix in the that new one I just got.
And maybe not maybe not in our lifetimes. That's gonna happen. It's gonna get. That's what it's gonna get to.
Why not? If you're able to go in your car and tell the CD player or the MP3 player now what music you want to hear, why can't a DJ eventually do that too?
Yeah, a lot of cars don't even come with CD players anymore. This MacBook right here is 2012, doesn't come with a CD drive. They're like, yeah, fuck it, no one uses that shit anymore.
And even the Pioneer, the new Pioneers, the XDJs.
Yep.
Though I think that they're awesome because to spend $2,000 on a CDJ 2000 is just insane.
It's so weird because like the CD drive itself can't actually cost that much. So to make, I don't know what the XDJ is gonna cost, but it's still gonna be like $1,000 something. Yeah, so it's still a fucking shitload to put. I think as a failsafe, not like failsafe where nothing can go wrong, but to be able to put some type of physical media in it if something happens to your laptop, or God knows whatever else. Why wouldn't you want that, or just put a fucking CD drive in there? You know what I'm saying? For that just in case moment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How can you justify $2,000 versus $1,000? That's a lot of money, and that's the difference. But
I'm saying a CD drive doesn't cost $1,000. That's what I'm saying. I saw a Walkman the other day. I just didn't even know they still made them. I saw it the other day in Best Buy for like $15.
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they justify it. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I mean, technology. Oh, the other example I was going to give you in music production is, like all these effects that they have on instruments and vocals today, all these filters and things that they do. We used to have to create that from scratch. So we used to have to run the vocal through an actual external outboard gear, a filter, and hook it up MIDI and record the events that we changed with the filter, and like all these things, all these effects we used to actually have to take time and create. And now they have all these plugins, and it's just instantaneously. You push the button, and shit that I literally would take 30 minutes, an hour doing years ago, one button.
30 seconds to a minute.
It's like, so it's like, man, it's like crazy. So. And
it's also the easy access and sharing of those settings too, where you can just, if somebody else got it, even if it only took them a minute, now they can just send over the settings and stuff, or it becomes presets that are like, oh, this is what most people use and sounds good for a lot. The majority of people just use that, and you can get away without knowing exactly what it's doing in a lot of cases, especially with, I see it all the time when I load, I do some shows for people. They do showcases and stuff like that. So we get all the artist music, and you're like, all right, you have no idea how this compressor works or limiter works, do you? And I can tell just when I load into Serato and see the waveform is a big block.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, man, this is gonna be a long night. Your performance might be painful.
Listen, it's become that's basically humans not knowing how to use the technology properly. And basically right now it's a competition on whose music can be louder than the other person's. Because the louder your shit is, the better it sounds. Anything, even as a DJ, anything, you turn it up loud, hey, it sounds pretty good.
Well, my new mixer goes to 11, so I think it's going to sound better than anyone else's mixer.
A lot of things sound good when they're a little more pumped up, but it's like it's just gotten to the case where people don't even know what they're doing now. They're over processing everything. It's once you start to over process, a lot of distortion comes in. Once the distortion comes in the waveform, you save the waveform. It's
there forever.
It's locked in there. I don't care if you bring it down to an MP3, reconvert it to a wave, 32-bit, 64-bit, whatever you have to do. The distortion ain't going nowhere. It's in there. You burnt it in there. So that really pisses me off because I hear a lot of DJs play at the radio station, and they play some stuff that is totally distorted, and it's just like, why even play it? It sounds horrible.
And it's weird too. It's like, how do you not hear that? Like when you're making it, like who did you have do this? Or a lot of cases, like them doing it themselves, but it's crazy too. I guess it's that attention span thing too. When everything's so accessible, like you could YouTube a video on like Pro Tools or whatever program you're fucking using and get at least a little bit of like, all right, what is the compressor actually doing?
Yeah.
It's concept based. Like that's one of the things. I did go to like a school for audio engineering and stuff, and they were like, don't worry about the software. Like learn the concept. Because then you can take that to any software and anything you're doing. So it went into like what compression actually does, and how to use one.
How many people, if you gave them an external compressor, how many people would really know how to hook it up and how to actually work that compressor?
I can answer that question based on how old they are. I think that's gonna narrow it down very much.
Or even a compressor, virtual compressor in it. If you just there's each knob does something, and that's
and the first thing too is training your ears to hear it.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of it is very subtle. Like when you have like the attack or the knee of a compressor, like I feel like you could play with it from each extreme down and up and be like, well, I didn't hear a difference at all.
You may not hear, but in certain instances you'll notice, oh, wait a minute, I hear something funny on there. It was too slow in attacking it, or it was too fast to cut it off too quickly, or something like that. But yeah, you have to start to really analyze what you're doing and notice the changes that are happening. Sometimes the changes, depending on what what you're compressing, you're going to get different results through different things. Whether you're compressing a kick drum, or you're compressing a bass guitar, you're going to get different, feeling from turning the attack and the release and all that stuff.
Yeah, they're all different sounds, so you can't use like whatever preset you did on maybe the vocals and be like, oh, I'll throw that on the snare. And you're like, no, it doesn't work that way. You're gonna get a total. They're different sounds. They're doing different things.
You can't just take a compressor and run everything through the same compressor. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask about, to bring it back to the Spotify thing, because I actually just started. I downloaded it like last week. I just started using it. I wasn't really hip to it. I was using Pandora for the times when I was like, all right, let me just have something on, really. And for the last however long I was using it, I actually wasn't even listening to music on it. I just have like comedy skits. Like they'd have like a comedy channel. Like if you put in like Bill Burr or something like that, and then it would just do a whole bunch of different bits and stuff from skits, which was pretty cool. But someone had I obviously knew about Spotify. I just hadn't used it, so I was like, all right, let me see what it's about. Because apparently you can. It's that instant access. So if you're a paid subscriber to it, you can actually pick whatever song or album that you want to listen to. So if it's a new album that comes out, or an old one, whatever, you can just listen to it in order and stuff. Yeah. Now, if you don't pay for it and it's just use the free app on the phone, it's shuffle. But it's supposedly supposed to still play, like, if you pick a certain album and just play that artist or whatever.
As far as the mobile's concerned, the mobile, Yeah, when you do pay prescription, you have more. You have access to everything instantaneously.
Yeah.
That's basically what they call an interactive radio station. That's what Spotify is, because you're literally controlling what you want to hear.
I guess the term. I mean, like, yeah, that's you are controlling with what you want to hear, but I don't. The terminology is just weird, you know.
Because that's what it is. That's what it's called. That's the difference between a non-interactive radio station.
So, but what's the difference? I mean, like when you had an iPod and just made a playlist and carried that. I picked what I wanted on that playlist.
You're not an entity. You're not a radio station. That's just personally making a playlist. But when you listen to the radio, a terrestrial radio station, you don't have control of what they play.
So if you do...
But when you listen to Spotify and you create a radio station or you listen to On Demand, you're controlling what you're hearing. You have absolute control of everything that you're listening to.
Yeah, but so like that, to me, it makes it not a radio station anymore then. Because it's not very different than just, again, making just an iPod playlist. You just listen, instead of listening
to... It's not your music.
But it doesn't have to be... it's the same thing though. If you downloaded whatever songs there were that you wanted to hear, and you were like, oh, I put a Ghostface Killa track in, a J. Cole track, an Aerosmith track, and this and that. Yeah, like, all right, that's my playlist. You could do the same type of playlist on Spotify.
Then you buy, so you either buy all the music.
Yeah, you'd have to buy it all.
Make a playlist.
You'd have to quote unquote buy all the music and make
so you buy all the music and you make your playlist and you listen to your playlist, but you're not a radio station. So when you choose not to buy that music and pay for a monthly subscription to a business model that allows you to create your own stream, that is a interactive radio station.
All right.
That's how it's that's technically the terminology, and that's the two types of radio: interactive and non-interactive, and that's basically the difference how they classify it.
Now, with like Taylor Swift pulling from it, saying she's not making a lot, and I did see something with Pharrell's Happy.
Absolutely.
Was streamed, I think they said 30 or 40 million times.
Like $2,800.
Yeah, you got like less than $3,000. Now, I wanted your opinion on it from being somebody that has the credits of and songs that were played on the radio and that sold physical copies. And you don't have to go into like exact numbers, but like how off is the royalties in a Spotify and a Pandora from what it would have been for having credits like on something that was played on the radio and stuff like that?
Well, put it this way: when you get a song played on a radio station, a terrestrial radio station, you're getting about 13 cents a spin. When you get your song played on Pandora or Spotify, you're getting about 1/10 of a cent.
Ooh.
Okay, so you end up needing like 100 plays just to make 10 cents. So it's really, people aren't owning it, like they're not buying it. Obviously, you want to sell music, but as well as I know, the sales are just not there anymore. A lot of it because of people just, rather than buy all the music, they just join these subscription services and they have access to anything they could ever want. But yeah, that's the huge difference. It literally is that much of a difference.
Now what? Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, so just radio is, as far as money-wise, when your song's on the radio, on a terrestrial radio station, ASCAP or BMI, they're tracking that, and they collect approximately 13 cents for every spin that you get.
And those are publishing companies, ASCAP, BMI, and that's how they handle that.
Those are our collection services. They monitor all radio stations, movies, Broadway plays, everywhere. When you walk into a restaurant and they're playing music, they're supposed to be paying for that music. When you go into an elevator and you hear music, when you're in the department store, all that music is supposed to be paid for. It's supposed to be licensed. When you own a nightclub, you pay your licensing fees. All those fees have to get paid. So
they recently actually cracked down on some Long Island places for that. Which was just a couple months ago. I remember reading about it. I don't know exactly what places, and it was mostly, I think it was restaurants and maybe a sports bar or two or something like that. But they had called out a few of them for not paying the licensing.
Listen, you got to understand one thing. The fact of the matter is there's only a fraction amount of the money in music that there used to be and that there should be. Okay, so the music industry is shrinking as far as sales of product. Okay, so what they're doing now is they're trying to get back whatever they can get back. Now I don't know if you noticed this, but even SoundCloud has gone through some changes. They're tracking and scanning all the mixes that go in there, all the music that goes in there, and they either going to reject it or they're going to put buy ads next to it, because people they have to generate sales from that. So they want DJs to be able to promote their music and play it and everything, but at the same token, there needs to be something where these artists are getting the recognition, and the buy links allow the people to actually say, hey, you know what, I like that song. Oh, it's so easy to buy. Let me just click that. But yeah, all this shit is supposed to be paid for, and it's just really a free-for-all at this point with music. It's like every young person growing up just really thinks music should be free. They don't understand the concept of the recording studio, the musicians, the talent, the creativity, the creating this, writing the song, the structure, producing it, all the stuff that goes together and making that song could cost, it's costing less and less. And that's the problem with people doing it. You watch these videos, people say, oh, music, that doesn't take anything to make anymore. So that's what's happening. It's just little by little becoming devaluized. We need to reverse it in some sort of way. It's not fair.
That's the hard part.
It really isn't fair.
When people get used to something being free or in a certain way. And I don't want to blame it all on technology. Like, some artists are partly to blame to that. Again, some of the upcoming ones, because they would purposely put their stuff out there for free and give it away in hopes of getting recognized and noticed and stuff. And you hit a point where it's like, all right, we can't give it away for free anymore, but we have been for so long. How do we get, you didn't put any thought process into how to get people to pay for your stuff to begin with. Mm-hmm. Now to do it after you've been just giving it away for so long, how do you convince them to fucking buy it?
Reverse it. And that's one thing. I have 2 points here. The one thing I always tell all these guys giving away all their mix CDs, all their shit, they just keep on giving away all their music. And I tell them all the time, I says, what you're doing, it's okay to give away something here and there, but basically your whole fan base, you're just giving them everything. And when it comes time for you to actually sell them something, they're not going to buy it, mm-hmm. because you've been giving it to them this whole time. So you want to be careful how much you give away. It's okay to just, a little flavor, here's a little taste, but when you basically just giving your shit away for years and years, you're just killing yourself, because nobody's going to buy it.
Exactly.
The other point that I wanted to make was I lost my train of thought, but what we're talking about just before that,
Spotify and streaming, royalties, licensing.
I know I had the 2 points. One was the DJs giving away your music. It was about giving away your music. Okay, yes, I know exactly what I was going to say. Okay, just recently, and you have iTunes, and you may have encountered this just like everybody did, but you woke up one day and you had a whole freaking YouTube album in your iTunes player. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And do you know that every artist in the business was so pissed off that YouTube did that, okay? Because they didn't need to do that. They are a successful rock group, okay? When one of the biggest, most successful rock groups in history starts giving away albums, it's just setting a standard and a tone that is just not good. And not only that, they didn't even offer it to you. They forced it. They put it on your freaking in your
one
iTunes
of the things
player,
that pissed
and
me
you
off
couldn't
more.
even delete it.
Yeah.
You couldn't even delete it. And that is just an example of, like, it's one thing, man, to give away a few things. You're trying to move up, you're trying to, get out there, you maybe even if you're successful, you want to reward your fans with something here and there. But when you have a major act like that, just giving away an album that they may have spent a year working in the studio, like, what is up with that?
Especially when the majority of their fan base are people that are used to buying music.
Exactly.
So it's like man, you were gonna sell units. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna sell some units because you have that fan base that's just used to paying for music. So and you're again having a huge fan base and being a huge world-renowned band, like, you'll sell some units still. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do that.
Absolutely.
I was definitely way more pissed about the fact that, like, there was no, like, hey, are you okay if we download this to you? And click, there was nothing. It was just there. I was like, whoa. It sucks because the technology is great. It connects everybody, but the privacy is just, like, out the fucking window. And some people, again, do it to themselves in all the social media and don't even realize that they just eroded it away.
Absolutely.
And then when you go back, it's the same thing of giving shit away for free and then trying to sell something. It's like you just gave away your life for free through your social media. Now you want some privacy back. It's like, oh, how do I even get it back since I've given it away for so fucking long?
Absolutely.
And it's a fine line. That's one of the things with an artist that I've been working with for a fucking long time. One of the reasons why I moved out to Ohio too is like was with this artist and stuff, and I'm trying to get him into that mind frame. Especially, it's so easy with the technology now to make a website. You could put all your old songs up that you would have normally given away because they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, but they're still really good. Just nobody heard them because they never got out there like that. You can make it $5 for 20 of the songs. Like people pay, like to me, $5. People will pay $5 no matter what. That's what, and I had that same philosophy when it came to club stuff and everything. Instead of $20 to get in, and like, oh, if you're on a guest list, it'd be 10, and trying to give them some type of perceived fake value for that. Just make it $5 for everybody to get in. Yeah. And people will pay $5 and take the chance that it might suck, but for $5,
anything more than $5 in an event is questionable. That's why even when we had our few showcases, I was just like, you know what, $5. I mean,
people will take the chance for $5. I feel, you know, like, and
then you get some people don't even want to pay the $5 when they get to the door.
It's like, well,
like I had like people like asking for me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on, man! I'm trying to throw a successful event. I got people I haven't seen in 6 months trying to fucking contact me so I can let them in for free. I mean, like, yo, support your boy, man. It's $5. Yeah. I'm putting on 6 acts here.
And another thing I used to tell people all the time too, upcoming artists, especially this and that, if you can't get the people that you know, friends, family, and stuff, to pay for your stuff, how are you gonna get strangers to do it?
Exactly.
It's not gonna fucking happen. Speaking to the club thing and how we talked about how that shit's all fucked up, I actually do want to shout out real quick, Fots Beats and DJ Besso. They're doing like a, I don't remember what they're calling it, but it's at one of the places in Amityville. It's a Friday night, and it definitely seems like they're taking the route that we were talking about of building a night. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna be the DJs there. It's not like, hey, we have 15 fucking people performing and 20 bartenders, so it's just gonna be their friends. Like, it seems like they're trying to build a night based on, you know, open format music too, which to me is awesome. So like, I just give them a quick shout out for that. If you're in the area and stuff, check it out. I want to say the first night might be fucking tonight. Might be next Friday too, though. I'm not 100% sure. So,
well, I do know Besso and Fots Beats have both spun on Strong Island Radio, so definitely want to shout them out. You know, they're definitely doing their thing. That's cool. So we support them.
Yeah, both, and talented DJs too. So, and like just taking the initiative to try to do that on their own. Like, I've definitely talked with other DJs about that, and just, you know, we weren't able to manifest anything. But if we were all, it was like 2 or 3 of us that were approached by like the same promoter for the same night and stuff. Like, oh, and it was to bring 20 people. I was like, well, if we're gonna do that, what the fuck we need you for? It's like, this guy has a pretty large network, and so does this guy. Like, you know, we're all can hold the room down, so let's just do it. We know the bartenders too, so we don't need you. We can call a bartender or two, and if we're gonna just use our followings, then now you just fucking took yourself out of the equation as middleman. Yeah. Another reason why that philosophy is fucking stupid, because if we're all gonna do that, then we'll just do it together, and we don't need the fucking promoter. Absolutely. What the fuck? Yeah. So I was gonna say with the not getting paid as much for streams, it seems like now obviously you're getting more, like we were talking 30-40 million plays on Spotify. That's way more than you're going to get on a radio station for the whole country. You know, so I get that the numbers are way bigger, but I'm using the Netflix example for it. I was wondering why Netflix, they have a whole bunch of original series, and I'm like, how are they affording to produce this? You know, they have Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. You know, he's not doing it for peanuts, that's for sure. No, they got to get paid. Yeah. So I'm like, how are they doing this? And then I looked up their numbers of subscribers, and I'm not sure if it was paid subscribers or just, you know, someone could be free trials, whatever it is. But their subscriber base was like fucking huge. Yeah. And doing the math at $7.99 a month, it was something like $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion like a month that it was coming in. So I'm like, oh. So that is a lot of revenue to be doing that. Yeah. You got to figure Spotify has to be in that realm somewhere.
I don't know the numbers.
Let's see if we can find out right now while you talk.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know.
I just think the numbers could be bigger where they could afford to give more than 1/10 of a penny per play. You know?
I think what happened is a lot of Spotify basically made they entered into a lot of contracts, sort of like entry level contracts, where they would build as they went. In other words, the record labels and big distributors let them use their catalog, let them use it for real cheap, with with the intent where when the contract's over, they were going to increase it and build them. So in other words, what they were really, in essence, they were kind of like getting them started. They were working out deals with them, letting them use the catalog for extremely low amounts of money to build up their business, get their subscribers, and then little by little they'll catch up and increase the revenue to the distributors and the labels. So that's why it's so cheap right now, because Spotify really is fairly new, and they basically like blowing away Pandora.
Yeah, and it's because you get to choose. That's what it is. And
you also Spotify also has a little bit more independent music too.
Yeah.
So you can get exposed to a little bit more stuff on.
It's
Spotify.
crazy with the amount of stuff that's on it. Pandora repeat itself a lot.
Oh,
if you have like a Jay-Z station on or something like that, like if that's what you're listening to for like the whole week, every day for the whole week, like you start on Monday, by probably even by Tuesday and Wednesday, you might get some of the same shit. I remember turning it on, hadn't used it. Whatever day, let's say Monday, and then Wednesday I played the same station, and it started with the same 3 songs. I was like, what the fuck, man? So why would the catalogs, especially for that station, which has to be so fucking immense, that why am I hearing the same fucking 3 songs?
I think it may they kind of grow as you go. So in other words, when you like
and I've been doing that, yeah.
Yeah, so those probably things were the first few things that you liked, so it was playing it safe, That's why the more interactive you are with it, hitting the thumbs up, thumbs down, like that's actually telling you, no, not only do I not like that song, but don't give me anything that even sounds like that song. So I use Spotify more than Pandora. I haven't used Pandora in a while.
So as of January 12th, on The Verge, Spotify now has 15 million paid subscribers and 60 million total users. So at $9.99 a month.
I don't know. I think it's $9. Is it $9.99?
$9.99. Oh. It's $150 million a month in revenue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying. It seems like they could probably afford more than a tenth of a penny per
like
play.
I said.
And some of the more known artists should be on a higher tier, and maybe some of the ones that are trying to break through are on a lower one, which doesn't seem to like obviously. That's the case to go independent, because you get more of the share, like when you're selling your own stuff, as opposed to being with a major label where your percentage is going to be smaller, but you have the machine behind you. So that's like the opposite of it. But I don't know. It seems like what you're saying. How do you get from so long of being used to getting stuff free? And that's another thing. The industry was just behind that curve. They tried to, when Napster came out, it was like, first of all, it was probably just ignored for way too long, and then it was like, wait, they're getting this shit for free. And when you're seeing the decline in numbers, it's like, oh, we got to shut this shit down. Instead of being like, wait, how do we use this?
Yeah. Well, that's basically what Steve Jobs did, because he took Napster and created iTunes.
Yeah.
But
it took so long, though.
Well, because there was no laws.
Yeah.
This was all new. Everything that was happening on the internet, it
was like the Wild West.
Law-wise, it didn't pertain.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a physical product. So there literally was no laws. So literally the government had to start stepping in and making all these new copyright laws and licensing and stuff. And, little by little. And now there's agencies that track just digital digital plays, So, you register for your ASCAP or your BMI, and then they have Sound Exchange, which takes care of all the digital scanning and stuff like that of all the internet radio stations. So, I think, but like I said, I know that Spotify got a really lucrative contract from the record companies, and it was kind of like a contract that kind of, as it went on, it allowed them to, the companies to get more and more. But yeah, they definitely got a free ride.
I remember seeing something too, that it took Pandora 10 years to go into the black for them to actually
that's
make
why
profit.
Spotify got there a lot faster, because they basically convinced all the labels and said, listen, this is the future. you know, if you help us get going, we'll, you know, develop a great relationship. So work with us in the beginning, get us started, and then each time we renew the contracts, where they probably do it like, you know, a year at a time, or a couple of years at the most. They're not going to sign like a 10-year contract. So they just give them a little piece, and then that's going to keep getting negotiated and negotiating. You know damn well the record companies and the big distributors, they're going to want more and more and more. So I think what you're feeling right now, and you're not even a distributor or a record company, if you're feeling this, like, hey, wait a minute, there's something wrong.
What the fuck, man?
I am sure that they know there's something wrong. So I'm sure they're working on it. They're like dying for that. There's probably all the big distributors. There's like a countdown, you know, like a doomsday clock. There's a countdown clock when the contract gets renegotiated. Because it should be more. But right now, all this digital stuff is just fractions of a cent. Literally fractions of a cent.
Yeah, I don't even have a horse in the race, and I'm like, man, this is fucked up.
Yeah. It's crazy. But hopefully it'll get better, because, you know, people need to get paid. You know, I mean, like I said, you know, there's that guitarist who, you know, playing guitar is not easy. Playing drums is not easy, you know, and there's these musicians who've been playing all their whole life, who have sacrificed a lot, and when they have a record that starts to get a little play, I mean, they deserve to make some money from it, you know. But just to give you a little tidbit of what goes on in the actual music business today, is because you went from selling $15, $19 CD albums to 99, 89-cent singles. There's a fraction of the profit is in the music sales these days. So there's not as much money in the actual sales of music. So what basically major labels doing right now, they instituted this thing called the 360 deal. I don't know if you ever heard it. But basically what that does is they sign the artist, and then they basically take 360 degrees, means everything all around. So basically, not only do they make a percentage of the sales of the music, they also make a percentage of the sales of the merchandising. They make a percentage of the sale of the concerts, ticket sales. Everything that artist generates, no matter what it is, they take a percentage of it. And that has its good points and its bad points, because if you're the artist, you're basically getting taken care of in every aspect, but you're paying for it at the same time.
And that used to be where they made the most of their money anyway, was because on album sales, especially being on a major, you weren't getting a high percentage of it. Whether the album was $15, $19.99, it wasn't a high percentage. And if you're in a band with 5 people or something like that, it could be fairly small based compared to what you sold. And they used to not touch any like concert tickets and merchandise. It was almost like all that for the artist, like, or for the band. Like, they didn't touch any of it.
Well, and as far as sales, when you were selling physical CDs and records and stuff, the artist, the record company would sign the artist to anywhere from 12 to 18%, which would be 12 to 18% of the retail selling price. So if something sold for $10, they're really only getting $1.20 to $2 on that. So if you sell a $15 album, the group is making $2.50, $3.
And again, if you're not just one person,
so
you got to split that $2.50.
But yeah, that's just the big difference. And like years ago, you know, the major label model they would put out 10 albums from 10 different artists during the course of the year or whatever, and 9 of those would fail miserably. And the one successful album would not only make enough money to make up all the losses of the other 9, it would make profit, you know, beyond
I was going to say, I've heard that before, and a part of me wondered how true it was.
Yeah, that's what they say. I've always heard that. Yeah. I've been in this business a long time, and I've heard it from a few people. But it was the one album that
the mega hit paid for everything.
Because you got to remember, a lot of the stuff, if you put something out and it totally loses money, you can write that off. So you have a major label writing off losses, and then the big hit makes up for anything that they couldn't write off, and then they're generating profit. In the end, they're generating a yearly profit. And that's just not the case anymore, and that's why they're going after other money rather than sales. So,
but I don't know what obviously the physical thing is not selling as much, and maybe whole albums aren't, but I believe like singles though are selling a lot more than they were, because that's what it is now.
Yeah, but
and I guess it's not making up for, because now even.
But how much did a single cost back in the day? It cost you $2.99 $1.99, $2.99, $3.99 for a single.
But it's also they had money for the physical, it cost them to put it out. So now the cost to put it out, as far as the actual physical, not the music itself, but the physical vehicle of it, whether it's CDs, cases, the cover art, all that is diminished also. So
but still, so you're selling something for 99 cents. iTunes.
A lot of $1.29 now.
Yeah,
and that was, I felt like that was a little of a hard sell too. And like all of a sudden it was just $1.29, and people were like,
"Wait, over $1?
99 cents? What the fuck's going on?"
Can I choose from the value meal? It's a tough sell. You start to go with $1. That's why as a new artist, it's just you're just making 99 cents. You're gonna start asking $1.29, whatever.
Well, I think that's because it made it a little easier, like because iTunes, I don't remember the exact percentage, but now it's a little more for the artist. So now because it's $1.29, so I think they actually get that 29 cents is like iTunes, but I want to say part of me feels like they make more.
Well, you got iTunes is going to take their cut, and then your distributor or your record label is going to take their cut too. So you're talking about the distributor is going to take anywhere from 15 to 20% off of that, and then iTunes, I don't know the exact percentage, but they're going to take 10 to 15% off of that too. So you're gonna lose. You're probably only going to get anywhere from like 50 to 75 cents, if anything, on a sale of a single. So. You sell 1 million singles, you may get $500,000.
It's just that a million singles to sell.
Who sells 1 million singles these days?
Exactly. If you're not an established artist, that's a hard sell.
So exactly. I mean, Madonna just released her new album, and it was on the charts for like a week, and then it's gone now.
Well, Lady Gaga's newer one flopped terribly too, and they spent like tens of millions of dollars on it.
Like, it's crazy. It's just it's amazing.
But then you have someone like Taylor Swift, who's she was the only album to go platinum, like in the last calendar year for 2014. And I think that's for like new music coming out. I think maybe I heard the Eagles had like a kind of a greatest hits thing that came out that sold over 1 million, but I don't think they're really counting that as like new music, like a new album.
Yeah.
So that was like the only one to go platinum. Now it's more like, but again, the singles have there's a whole bunch of the singles that went platinum and stuff like that, and were in multiple millions. Fuck. Now I lost my train of thought with what I was gonna say off of that. It's getting old. Shit sucks.
Yeah, it happens. What are you gonna do?
It's so funny. I was actually on the way here. Right before I left, I saw something that I thought would interest you and stuff. It was I forgot where the article was from. It wasn't loading, so I only got the headline, and it was Colorado that was making so much money from legalizing marijuana that they had like give some of it back, and obviously the article went in to explain it, and I couldn't get the fucking thing to load, so I wasn't sure what they were talking about. But it mentioned something with like the lawmakers are gonna have a fun trying to figure it out, but they were just making so much money off of it. And I tried to figure out if I could. On my way here, I listened to a bunch of podcasts with Stitcher, so I just went into search. I just typed in weed, and I was like, all right, let me see if anyone's talking about that story right now. And I put on some random podcast, Weed Weekly, or I think it was called, and it definitely wasn't about that because it wasn't updated. It was like the episode was from like right after Christmas, so I guess he hasn't done one in a while. And it was just so funny because it was this dude that like exactly what you would think of someone who's just sitting around smoking weed in the room and then pressing record on something would sound like is exactly how it sounded like. And he went into something where he was talking about it. He's like, man, he stopped. He's like, damn, it's cold in here. I closed the window. And then he's like, shit, what was I talking about? It was one of those things where it was like, wow, this is exactly what you would, the stereotype of being a stoner. That's what this guy was. And it was kind of funny because I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast a lot too. And he's like a well-known, famous marijuana advocate and smoker and user and stuff. And it's just different, though, because when you hear him talk about it, he sounds like he could have a fucking PhD in it and articulates it very well. And then I was just, juxtaposing it with this guy, and I'm like, holy shit.
It's the stereotype, not everybody's like that.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Smoking, and I feel I'm pretty, I can hold a decent conversation, and I don't have that effect. But yeah, I do know people, it just sounds like, even when they're not high, they sound like they're high.
Right.
I mean, it's just... But yeah, I'm not crazy. You know, just get into it real quick. I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to be legal in all states soon.
Yeah.
I never ever thought I would see this day. As long as I live, never ever thought I would see legal marijuana, whether it be medical or whatever. It's just incredible. I don't necessarily am an advocate for it. You know, I don't mind. Listen, I've been smoking my whole life, and I don't need to go smoking in public places or in my car or anything like that. I have my connections that are safe and I've been using for years, and I'm not that big on the idea of just legalizing it and let everybody have a free for all. But it is what it is, and you know, it's all good. But I just hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't end up hurting, you know, the younger generation, because they're fucked up as it is. And now just the thought of the next generation just growing up all high, it just really scares me.
Well, there's things to that. Like, obviously, the ones that are going to be into it and want to get it, it's not like it's impossible to get. You know what I'm saying? They'll be able to get it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So,
like, if you smoke it, you can get it.
Yeah,
it's not that hard.
It's very easy.
But it's just the idea of just the total access to it. It's just kind of worries me if they do it. It really does need to be treated. You know, you can't be driving around and that shit. So, you know.
It's hard. And the one thing I'm going to say to that, though, is it's not like a breathalyzer test where you can take it and be like, oh, we know you drank in the last hour, 2 hours, 3 hours.
Test, yeah.
But it can be, first of all, I'm going to say, it's intrusive as shit to take a blood test at a, you know, like, they're going to prick your finger, like taking the old diabetes test or something, and when you get pulled over. But to know, like, it can be in your system for a month. So, like, yeah, I might have it in my system, but that doesn't mean I smoked before I started driving. That could have been 3 fucking days ago. You know, and I don't even smoke. So I'm just, you know, again, not really a horse in the race for it for me, but it's just more of an, I guess, an ideal thing. It's like, why let them use it? Do it the same, similar to alcohol and stuff. You have to be 21, and you have to, and this and that.
Because in my opinion, alcohol's a lot worse.
Way worse, without a doubt.
I mean, you drink, when you drink to the point where with that point of no return, and you're drunk, you cannot function. You've seen people, they can't stand. They're slurring their words. Obviously, you're not functioning well. You should not be in a car. You should not be handling machinery or anything like that. You know, you smoke pot, you get a little giggly, you get a little stupid, 15 minutes later, you're fine. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big difference. It shouldn't be classified in the category it's in now.
Schedule 1.
It's crazy.
Meaning that it has no medical merit or use.
And you know what? Mark my words, is they're going to find a cure to cancer in pot. Because they are finding stuff in pot now that just all these chemicals and things that it's helping. I see a lot of shows. I mean, Israel is huge on experiment and medical marijuana for whatever reason or another. But they're finding amazing things that it does. Not just in smoking form. But
the oils and stuff, the cannabinoids.
They're gonna find some serious cures, and people are gonna really change their tune. But years ago it got classified and it got a really bad name, and it's just.
And that I was gonna say why it's becoming legal and stuff. A big thing you have to thank for that, fucking technology, the access of information, and people getting you're like, I can talk to somebody in California like with no problem and show them whatever research this and that, when it was so just basically locked up. You know what I'm saying? Like all the positive stuff about it was just locked up, and it was a propaganda machine. That's why it was illegal to begin with starting with hemp and everything, and then to marijuana. Like it was all because of the controlling of information. So now that you have the technology where the information can't be controlled by a single entity so easily, everyone's like, wait, why the fuck have we not been...
all the propaganda films that they made and everything like that, it just, people looked at marijuana users as like serious drug users, freaking out and hallucinating and jumping off buildings, killing people. Honestly, I hear it all the time and it cracks me up. And I tell my mom this, once in a while, and she's totally she sees what's going on with marijuana. She knows I've been smoking it my whole life. So it's it's like she kind of understands it, and you know, you hear these stories about this. Oh, this guy, they killed, they murdered this family. They were high on pot. They smoked marijuana and they slaughtered a whole family. Let me tell you something right now, okay? If you are ready to murder somebody and you smoke a blunt or you smoke pot, you are gonna not do it, okay? Because you're gonna say to yourself, what the fuck am I thinking of? You know, it's just like, it's just not that. It's just, you know, I could see you taking acid or you're taking something, you know, that gives you hallucinations.
Angel dust.
But man, let me tell you something. Pot, it just totally mellows you out. You could be roaring pissed at somebody and you take a couple of hits and you're like, it's not so bad.
Yo,
So-
and it's so funny because I know for a fact anybody who listens to this who has any experience with marijuana is gonna be dying laughing to that, and
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't though in the beginning of that is gonna be like their ears would be perked up and
No,
stuff. Be like, oh my
it's-
god, like
it's just-
someone's gonna kill somebody. Like you're about to do that. Like
Yeah,
no,
no,
like that's
it's
why it's so
amazing.
funny because there's no chance in hell
There's
that
no
anyone
way.
would do that.
There's no way.
Like
I don't care how violent you are.
I'm gonna say you could be a legit psychopath.
Yeah, as
and,
soon as you
and maybe have
smoke.
killed people before.
Absolutely.
And want to do it again, but then you smoke before, and you're
I
like,
mean, think about it. It stops seizures and convulsions in children. If it's
Yeah.
gonna stop a seizure or convulsion, it's gonna even somebody who's psychotic or mad at a point in time when they smoke, in a couple minutes they're gonna be like, wait a minute.
what was I gonna do?
Was I
First, they
good?
might not even remember it, and
Yeah.
then,
But
and then
it's
if they
just
do-
true. It's just really. I mean, it always made me focus more. I would be always like I would be ready to make some sort of a rash, quick-minded decision. Get caught up in something, and then I would smoke, and I would say, "What am I, stupid?" That's the last thing I read. I'm like, yo, I want to buy this new car, you know, and then you smoke, and you're like, what am I, crazy? I can't afford that car. You know, it's like almost like when I get high, it brings me to reality. It humbles me and makes me really focus on what's going on. But, you know, it affects people. I know I have some people that get paranoid as hell.
But
you
a
know.
part of that, I think, I totally agree. Like some people do, and there are different types of weed, so like it depends on which one.
Yeah,
One is more
absolutely.
prone to make you paranoid. One's more of like a just all body type of high and coolness and calmness or whatever. But some of that paranoia stuff is just being more aware. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it just might be you're not used to it, you know, and it's a little heightened, so you're not
so
sure how to take it all in.
You're sensing things that you may not feel because
Yeah.
I don't know. You're relaxing your body and you're opening yourself up. But yeah, some people, you know, it's not for everybody. You know, it really isn't. Some people smoke and they just get lazy. They don't want to do anything. I've always found that it always kind of sparked a little energy in me, sparked a little physical energy and creative energy. And I don't know why, but it's always, you know, it's always done that for me. So, but like I said, I'm not a big advocate for legalizing or anything because I've been doing fine.
It's
I
like,
don't
oh,
need-
cool, it's not
I don't
good.
need to go to the store and buy it. I'm
Word.
cool, thank you.
That's
But you know, that's pretty much my outlook on that.
That's the one thing I think about too sometimes is like, again, I don't smoke anymore. So and that had to do with more like maybe having to get a quote unquote real job and stuff and being tested. So I'm like, all right. And then after that, it was, again, it's not, they say it has no actual physical addictiveness. People that say they're addicted to weed or would be addicted to whatever, fucking diet soda or two
Yeah, you
or
can have
whatever it
addictive
is.
personality.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so it wasn't like that for me when I stopped. I just was like, all right, I guess I'm not doing that anymore. And that was that.
And on top of that, they also found out they've been doing studying on actual lung damage, and they are saying that it is not damaging the lungs.
I would have to say, depending on what way you're taking it in and what they were studying.
They're saying that the paper is hurting you more than the actual.
Yeah, so
Weed
that's
itself.
a little misleading where it's like, oh, smoking weed doesn't hurt your lungs. No, smoking hurts your lungs. Like, the weed itself might not be doing it.
But comparing it to cigarettes, it's night and day.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt,
That's what
because,
they say.
but whenever
But-
taking in something it's heated up, it's on fire, it's burning, it's going down your throat, the paper, whatever it is, it's going to do some damage, and that's why if it was legalized, I could see myself doing it again if it's in the fact that where it's like, oh, I can do this legally, and if I do get tested for my job, maybe they're not allowed to test you, or maybe if they are, they can't use it to not hire you or fire you, whatever it is, as long as you're not, like, you can't go to work drunk, so you can't go to work high. Like, I would get that. I would, the way I would choose to, if it happened again, would be more edibles, I'd say, because it is like the quote unquote safer way of, if you're trying to be safe.
And then they
with
have the vapor things too, which is cool. But now there's a kind of a concern about the butane, because they use butane to make the wax and the oil. So now they're saying, oh, you may not be inhaling the smoke, but now you're inhaling butane in your lungs, which is not good.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So that's why I kind of stay away from it. I just stick to the old school thing. But
well, you think like a pipe or bong or something like that would be maybe cleaner then?
It's always better.
It's
absolutely.
it's just the smoke.
It's always better. The paper is what's going to get you.
Yeah.
The paper, whether that is it. The way it burns, the smoke that comes out of it, out of the rice paper or whatever paper you're using, it's just a darker smoke.
What are you making sushi over there with your marijuana?
No,
rice paper.
That's where it was rice paper. Now they make them hemp paper. But yeah, that's where it's actually made from.
But yeah, and it also, like, personally, it's like you might not realize it when you're smoking, but then when you go somewhere else, everyone knows you smoked weed. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows. So another reason why maybe I'd probably go edible if here and there I ever did it again, if it was legal. But then when it's legal, now you get all these shitty fucking big companies involved into it, and like there's already been reports of Monsanto looking into like GMO weed and stuff like that. Like there's no way I'd want to use that. Yeah. Like, why ruin something so, like, it's a hardy plant. You can fucking grow it anywhere anyway. Like, it doesn't need pesticides, doesn't need anything else.
And not only that, the part that you smoke is the female part of the plant. That's the flowers and the buds. The male plant, which is hemp, you can make clothing and paper and everything. Do you know the Constitution of the United States is written on hemp paper? All of the documents, all of the first documents that our country was founded upon, they're all written on hemp paper. George Washington was a hemp farmer. If we grew hemp farms, we would never have to cut down another tree again.
Yeah.
We could literally, clothing, paper, everything that we need.
They made car bumpers out of it. It was so strong.
It's an amazing product. That's what I'm saying. We got to stop, like you said, with propaganda. The old saying was, one joint is the equivalent to a whole pack of cigarettes. And that's totally not the case. It's like the opposite. Now they're realizing that it's not as bad. So, it's all propaganda, but you know what? It's all about money. And the fact of the matter is, this country is hurting economically. Each state is hurting economically. And that's pretty much the only freaking reason that the state governments are allowing it, because they're trying to save their states.
And it's also, though, like, a part of it that does play in. Like, when you get enough, you can say the people have no power, right? But when it's enough of them all on the same page, then they'll start listening to you. Yeah. So when you can get the information out to fucking everybody everywhere, and everybody can realize, oh, it's not as dangerous as we were led to believe, and this and that and everything, then you have a good subset of people using it anyway, and then converting people that maybe weren't, like, oh, well, I don't care if you do it then, because it's obviously not as bad as we were told it was. And then add in the money part of it. It's like, okay, cool, we can get this shit changed now, you know? Because if it was just the money, they would have changed it fucking decades ago.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Because it's been the past 10 years, a lot of states have been going bankrupt and everything, and so it really does. Honestly, I really feel 100% that if there was no economic problems, this wouldn't even be on the table right now. That's my honest opinion.
But do you think... Because as far as I know, Colorado and Washington weren't really having that problem. You don't see it legal in Michigan yet. That probably needs it more than any state.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the table there or something that they might do, I'm not sure yet. But I know they haven't yet.
I think people seen it. It started in California, in a few towns. I forget the names there. And I think other states, other communities started to see all the money that could bring. I just think deep down everybody can say what they want, but I really think it's all about the money.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue against that. I just think everything else probably helped it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it was, ideally it would be maybe not legal, but not. I guess you'd have to call it legal then if they're not gonna.
Listen, the fact of the matter is we've been trying to stamp out pot since long ass time ago. And even in the Reagan days, just say no, all that shit. The fact of the matter is, you can't stop it, okay? And the Mexicans are setting up huge farms in the middle of our state parks. They're bringing in, Mexico is responsible for most of the pot that's coming in here, and they're selling it. There's a huge economy, and the governments are starting to realize that we need to get part of this. We need to get the Mexican out,
especially because it's violent drug cartels of Mexico.
Stop it. You can't stop it. You can't stop pot. The whole industry, you can't stop it. When you can't stop something, like alcohol, they couldn't stop alcohol. They had no choice.
And do you know how much harder it is to make alcohol than it is to grow weed?
Absolutely.
And they couldn't stop people from doing that. They fucking found out a way to do it in their bathtub.
Absolutely.
You need way more ingredients and shit, and time, and the process is so much longer.
Yeah.
The whole war on drugs is just...
It's really...
It's a waste of money.
It's a war that's... It's a hard war to...
Yeah. But ideally, it would be awesome if it was, like, legal, but it wasn't, like, you still just go through the same avenues you did to get it. So it wasn't, like, in Rite Aid. You know what I'm saying? And had to deal with the other big companies. Like, it was cool. We make it legal, but just let it go the way it was going. Yeah. So I could just call the same person I was calling and get the stuff I was getting.
Pretty soon you're going to go into 7-Eleven. And
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Pot muffins and stuff like that.
But at least some of the places... I know, like, in Colorado, to sell it and to grow it, like, to sell it, you have to grow it.
Yes.
Right? So it's in your hands. It's not like when McDonald's isn't fucking raising their own cattle. You know what I'm saying? They're getting it from feedlot beef, this and that, and it gets shipped all over the world or the country and stuff. So there's more, like, quality control, I'd say, in that, you know? So you know what you're getting. I think when it gets to the point where it's like, you know, fucking DuPont starts coming out with a type brand of weed or something like that.
It's only a matter of time, bro.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time because right now there are major companies, major people, movers and shakers that are lobbying New York to get in on the dispensaries and the growers and everything, because what they're going to do is they're going to start to allow only a certain people start it with the medical marijuana in New York. And right now, there's major people lobbying for that to get one of those spots.
Yeah, and it's gonna
be one of the first.
It's like
and these are not people. A lot of these people don't even smoke pot. They're businessmen.
Yeah, exactly.
They know it's inevitable. Yeah. They know the profit, and they're on it.
And that's what it is. It's going to be like you need whatever license and permit and stuff to do it.
And they're going to get everything that they need.
I mean, it'd be like taxis and like the food carts and stuff and everything. Like, do you know what the permits are for those? How much they cost?
You're creating a whole industry now. A whole industry that is creating jobs and taxes and you're bringing major amounts of money in. So
I wonder how it's going to eventually affect like the quote-unquote everyday people.
You know what? Listen, Amsterdam did this a long time ago, and they have a lot of regrets of a lot of the ways they went about it, and they're not, it's a little, they do their thing there, but I don't think they're so cut and dry. I think they made a lot of mistakes and stuff like that from a couple of things that I read. It's not so simple. But
I'm trying to. I definitely think I've talked about it a time or two, but I keep forgetting what country it was. I don't know if it's like Honduras or something, or one of them that they legalized every drug.
Oh,
they just legalized it all, and the thing is though, so far they have like reductions in a lot of the problems that were not only violent crimes and stuff, but even just addiction rates and stuff like that.
Where you go as a whole, as a country. Who are people still? Are you still generating entrepreneurs? Are you still generating creativity and scientists and people? Or is everybody just doing fucking drugs and nobody's? It's great not to have any crime and nobody killing each other, but if nobody's advancing themselves as a society
I would think
contributing to the world,
I think there are some drugs that are almost known for that, for like questioning stuff. Like I would put marijuana in that. You could put mushrooms in that and stuff, DMTs, other certain psychedelics and stuff. Yeah. I mean, look, Steve Jobs has said that he's come up with great ideas on I was going to say LCD. I was like, well, that's not a drug. like on LSD. And there are other like world-renowned, famous, incredibly wealthy, successful people that have said like psychedelics can definitely help. They're using it in PTSD. I'm really bad with these acronyms. Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right, and you can go back to back to ancient times and American Indians, and even beyond that. I mean, to get in touch with the gods, they would do all this crazy drugs and opium and all sorts of stuff and go in these trances. Are they really communicating with the gods, or are they just freaking tripping out, man? You know what I'm saying? So, but it's been a part of it. I mean,
there's even a theory of how we evolved was that like the lower primates, monkeys and stuff, were eating mushrooms. It has something to do with like the sea level lowering, or whatever it was, like real damp rainforest that became more like dry. So that all the monkeys that were living up in the trees and stuff coming down and eating mushrooms, and that's to explain the growth of like the human brain too and stuff over the whatever million years it was. Maybe, I mean, I'm not saying obviously that's what happened, but it's a prominent theory out there. Well, what I'm saying? It's called the stoned ape theory. Yeah. Of just how it
and they started to get a little more creative. And stuff. Yeah. I believe I believe in evolution to a certain extent, but at some point in time, our DNA was altered, because there's no reason. We are the only species out of thousands and millions of different species of all different animals and creatures all over this earth. We are the only ones who really advanced, where we started building things and stuff like that. I mean, as smart as dolphins are and all this shit, I mean, they're not building freaking apartment houses and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Ants do pretty well.
Ants, we're very similar to ants. You don't realize that, but we are very, very similar to ants. But the whole evolution thing is, I believe that there was natural evolution up to a certain point, but there's a part in our history where we just went from our brains, we went from Neanderthals and these primates to all of a sudden, for one moment we're in caves, and next moment we're dragging 25
let's say next moment though is blocks, a million years away.
Like, okay, first of all, you have nothing but a fucking club and a fucking and a stone arrow, and now all of a sudden you're building these freaking things. Like, we can't even move these stones today. How the hell were they moving? So I don't know what the hell. You want to go back in the past? That's a whole other freaking episode. Okay, because that's just that's.
Well, one of the things, another theory out there is because apparently like the chemical structure and everything of mushrooms is not related to like anything else on Earth. Like it's to use the phrase, like it's like an alien species almost, because it's not related to anything else, any other like vegetation, this and that and stuff. So one of the theories is that it very well could have come from outer space when like an asteroid hit the Earth. Yeah. Like that's a strong possibility. Of how certain life forms got here is like shit hits the Earth all the fucking time.
Absolutely, there's so many asteroids and comets and stuff that have crashed into the Earth, into our atmosphere, and there's remnants of life. They've proven that biological cells and all that stuff, they can survive. Yeah. It's I forgot what I was gonna say, but getting into this topic right now.
We'll do another 3 hours. Yeah, where are we even at right now?
Because we're about
2:02. I'm telling you, like it goes by like that. You don't even realize it.
I think ultimately, we should kind of wrap it up. Only because I don't want the podcast to be too long. I want it to be a length where people can enjoy it and not feel like, oh, it was too long. I couldn't even get to the last hour or something like that. So if it's cool. I would like to. I'd like to take like 5-10 minutes and just kind of plug a couple things.
And of course, without a doubt. We always, before we sign off.
But before I do that, if there's any other questions that you really had in mind that you wanted to ask, or anything that we didn't cover and you really wanted to get it in there.
Honestly, we did cover a lot, like musically and stuff. Where I knew you'd have some pretty awesome insights on and everything. So we really covered a lot of that. And then. We did make that transition, but maybe we'll do another one that's just dedicated to that. As soon as we got
to the drugs, all of a sudden we just went and totally, And I was saying that, if we were going to go into all the alien and evolution, then we should have started that from the beginning, because it's at least another 2 hours. Because me, I'm into that shit, and I will make a little deal. I would be more than happy to come back and we could do that.
Oh yeah, without
separately.
a doubt.
But I really did want this to focus mostly on music, because that's really what my expertise, and it's what I'm all about, and as far as professionally, and I would like to share a couple things to the people of what I'm working on Before we go.
One of the running themes in doing this podcast is with the certain guests that I've had has been people basically following passions and trying to turn it into a way where they can make their living off of that. Pretty much every single person that I've had on is connected to that in some way. And that was again one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on too, because you follow in that mold. You know what I'm saying? And I've gotten to a point where you've been successful at it too. So from the start of how you had to start and come up in the industry and everything, I just knew this this was going to be a really good one. As far as trying to put out some of that knowledge there to people that are up and coming, especially now with the way the whole industry has changed and shifted, to still be able to navigate through that. From someone who's been around from before to now.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm glad that I could share that, because I hope a lot of the younger people who are listening to this realize what we really did have to. It's always, you always got to acknowledge the people that came before you who broke that ground. So we always have to do that. I'm knowledgeable about my past and the people before me, and we should always do that. It's always good, you're into music, but it's always good to get a little history and be aware of the people who did things before you, and how they did things, because times have changed. Technology has really altered the whole industry, financially, creatively, in every way.
It's like how we were talking about with like learning the concept of something instead of just having to do it like a compression in Pro Tools. It's the same thing. Learning the concepts of coming up and going through it. So you were talking about like trying to get stuff on and whatever, and maybe doing it for free. Like that concept is still, even more so relative today maybe. So it's like you can see that by looking back, and people that have done it before, like, oh, they were dealing with some of the same shit that we're dealing with now. Even though a lot of stuff has changed. So again, if you don't know your history, you're doing the repeated, history repeats itself, da-da-da-da-da. All these cliches are cliches for a reason, because there's some truth to them.
If you're into music, and you can always get to where you're going faster if you learn from the people who did it before you. So just educate yourself on if you're in a particular music, you're into hip hop, investigate it. Go back to when hip hop first started. It's not that long ago. You're talking about the late 70s. Go back there, see how it developed from that dance, party type of theme, and then how you went into the 90s, the golden era, and how things change, and now where it is. Just get it, educate yourself, because it's knowledge. Information is key, man.
And maybe it has to do with the whole attention span thing we were talking about, but it's just so easy to get that knowledge now. Like, it's right there for you. You can make an argument that back in the day it might have been harder if you didn't know someone, like for DJs, for instance, if you didn't know another DJ, like, it was really hard to learn. Like, you had to learn everything on your own. Now there's videos to do different scratches, this and that, how to beat juggle, whatever it is.
Go on YouTube.
For anything.
Anything.
Plug lynda.com. If you don't want to use YouTube, which you might as well just use YouTube, because you have to pay lynda.com. But, I mean, you can literally learn anything you want to learn online right now. There are courses, a lot of MIT. You can take MIT courses for free.
It's amazing, yeah.
Online.
I just took a couple Berkeley classes, vocal recording, and vocal recording technology and music business. And I actually I was part of a little program, and I took these classes for free. It was amazing. Every night I'm watching all these videos and learning. A lot of the stuff I knew already, but I just wanted to do it, and it was cool. But yeah, technology is amazing. But like with anything, there's good and evil.
Of course.
And there was I don't know if you ever heard of Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan was, for people who don't know, he was like the Stephen Hawking before Stephen Hawking.
Or if you don't know who that is, he's like the Neil deGrasse Tyson of his time and stuff.
Yeah, so he basically, he was just one of the most well-respected scientists, and even when NASA, we made a record and put it in space, and they gave that job to Carl Sagan to record the record of all the different sounds and everything. But he's just one of the most respected scientists, and he said he saw it with technology, and he said he was actually seriously concerned that the technology was going to be used, and we were going to become too dependent on technology that if we ever lost it, even for a small amount of time, we could literally lose our whole civilization. Because right now, if we turned off the electricity, okay, instantly right now all over the world, we would literally be shoved back about 200 years. And probably about
Easily.
80% of us would die within
Probably
months. You know,
maybe a week.
I'm saying, well, first in 4 days, you know, the food runs out. People start doing drastic shit. You know, the fact of the matter is, it just by turning off the electricity, we would literally possibly wipe out our whole civilization all across on Earth. You know, and there would only probably be pockets of civilization that would survive.
Yeah, the
and
people that live up in Alaska
it
that
would
already
have to be regenerated and redone all again. And I'm a big believer that that's happened before because we've lost a lot of time.
yes,
You know,
there's a lot of belief in that too.
Exactly.
Where when they're finding buildings that were made when they thought they didn't have the technology, not only the technology, but that basically that civilization has been reset a bunch of times throughout the history.
They're finding cities
underground
and on in the ocean.
Yep.
You know, off the coast of India, major cities that were actually in documents and books that people have wrote about that they thought they were myth. They're actually finding now. So all these crazy, ancient writings, all these historical writings, and from the Sumerians to the Holy Bible to, India, which their civilization goes back thousands of years. I mean, all this stuff is baited in some type of truth, and we lost a chunk of time. But absolutely, we have most likely probably had to start up civilization 2 or 3 times already, between whatever.
Cataclysmic events that happen,
exactly, between ice
to asteroids, ice ages,
the flood. Every religion has a flood story. You're talking about over 2,000 flood stories, but yet they all, have the same story but different characters. So it's just it's amazing. But
see, again, what I told you before we started, I'm like, see, we were going to sign off. I bet you it's been 20
I
minutes
know,
since we were going to sign off.
Okay.
It just fucking happens.
I know.
But so definitely tell everybody where they can find whatever you're doing now.
I'm just going to give a brief. I'm just going to take 5 minutes, okay? You introduced who I was, but I've been in music my whole life. I put out over 100 records and CDs, and that's not even including MP3 downloads on iTunes. These are legitimate product that had to get signed by a record company, had to get money invested and distributed. So I spent a good part of my career putting out all these records and CDs. 10 of them charted in Billboard in either the sales charts or the club play charts, and I also have a platinum RIAA certified sales award, which one of my releases sold over 1.5 million copies. So I've been doing this a while, and I've always been into more of the electronic music, hip hop, R&B, reggae, house, all the dance stuff. But lately I've taken a turn, and this is something that I wanted to really just talk about quick. And I started getting into a lot of live instruments and working with a lot of musicians. And I'm actually into alternative rock right now. And I have a few projects that I'm working on producing, and I just want to let everybody aware to them because it's definitely my new a new part of my life that I'm entering, and I'm really excited about it, and I would just like everybody to know about it. So I'm working on a couple projects. One of them is my own, and it's an album, and it'll be out next month in March. And it's all alternative rock, all songs that I wrote. A couple of people wrote some songs to me. It's got it's a mix of alternative and rock, all live guitars, and it really sounds incredible. You can follow that at The Planet X on Facebook and Twitter, so you can keep up to date. So when the album does come out, I'd love everybody to check it out. In addition to that album, I'm also working on a couple other projects in alternative rock, and that is another album by an artist of mine, Rose Angel, and a EP that I'm working on with my guitarist, Tommy Tom. He goes by the name Fall Familiar. So I have about 3 or 4 projects that I'm working on that I'm producing, rock orientated. and it's going to be released on the company Strong Island Rocks, which is the rock label for Strong Island. It'll be everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, you name it, it'll be there. All the phone services, and I'm excited about it, and I just would love everybody to check it out in the future. So, like I said, the Planet X on Facebook and Twitter. And you can also just, with what we have going on in StrongIsland.com and Strong Island Radio and Television, we have all our live shows during the week, and I'll have a lot of the information when the album does come out. It'll be on the website. But I'm very excited, and it's a new era of my life, and I just would love people to check it out, because I'm actually going to be doing performances, which I've never done before. So I'm actually putting together a live show. So I'm going to be out there performing and promoting and recording. And this is the first album of many, hopefully, to come.
See, and still putting in that work, still on the grind. Love hearing it. Love hearing it. Definitely wishing you the best. When stuff starts coming out more and everything, let's do this again.
Absolutely.
And we'll go the other route. We
can go.
We'll do like a side B.
Exactly. Like this will be more business wise and educational. And then the next time we get together, we can just really just go in a direction and not care where we go.
Awesome.
Because we did real good, and then we started to talk about drugs, and then drugs led to aliens, and then God knows where it would have went from there.
Exactly.
I'm sure we could have did the 3 hours.
With that, we could have done another 3 hours easily.
Exactly, but,
so no, that's cool. I was actually looking while you were saying that for I couldn't remember the name of the song, the Heaven's Door.
Oh, Heaven's Door.
It was Rose Angel song, right?
Yeah, that's more of the dance stuff.
Yeah, more dance,
and
but it was
actually last year.
It was really good. I enjoyed that, especially one of the remixes that you did to it and stuff. I was like, that hit hard. That was nice.
Remix,
that was really dope. So man,
you can
check that stuff out.
On YouTube is the Heaven's Door, the original video, and also if you search iTunes, Heaven's Door, Rose Angel, one word. You'll hear both versions of that song.
It's without a doubt worth $1.29.
You'll hear some Planet X. Remember the song "So High" by the Planet X?
Yep.
So you'll hear some of the dance stuff that I kind of finished up on, but over this past year, I kind of made a drastic change, and I'm really enjoying it though.
That's what's
for
up.
Years of just sticking to all these computers and drum machines, I'm really, really expressing myself with live musicians and some really talented people. So
that's awesome, man. With this far into it, and you can still find something that excites you about it.
You gotta love it.
And,
you gotta love it.
That's the thing I've been talking about with like why I choose the guests that I have been choosing and everything. It's like you can see it in them. Like they're determined. They find something that they love, and they're determined to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's just the human resolve and spirit and everything. That I love so much.
If you don't love if you don't love what you're doing, you're gonna be miserable.
Life's too short to do that shit, man.
Confucius, find a job that you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
I mean, it's true as can be. It's not easy. Sometimes the things that we love to do, and especially the creative things, are harder to make money from. Yeah. It's easy to go to a 9-to-5 job, push some papers around, input some data, and go home when you're done. But when you're relying on bringing in money off of your creativity and your talents, it's a different ballgame. And it takes a lot to persist. And like I said, I've been doing it since I'm 13 years old. I'm not going to mention how old I am now, but it's been a while. I've been around. I've seen a lot. And one thing I'm thankful about is I've entered this business before technology, and now I'm finishing it with technology. So I've learned both.
Let's say continuing it. With technology.
I was going to say continuing it, but in the end, I'm going to finish it with everything that was at my fingertips technology-wise. But yeah, I know what it takes to do things without the technology, and I know how easy it is to get it done now. And I'm just basically incorporating both worlds. So that's why a lot of my music is, there's feeling in it. It's good stuff, and like I said, I'm looking forward to continue.
Awesome, man. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing it when it's done.
Cool. Sounds
so,
good, man.
Yeah, the biggest thing about that though, like, just trying to get the support for people that do that. Like, I'm not saying, hey, go here and go buy the album just cause, like, but go check it out. You know what I'm saying? It might be something you like,
Listen,
and if it is, it's a fucking $1.29. Support, like, another thing I've said too is like, especially from independent upcoming artists, things like that, and not that is what you are, but you're working with new artists and stuff. Yeah. If you don't support it, right? If everyone stops buying it, people are gonna stop making it.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be. I mean, they might make it for themselves or whatever, because like they do have that passion. But if they stop buying it, it's not gonna be their. It's not gonna be as good either, because it's not gonna be their focus. They're gonna have to do that 9-to-5 job, and maybe they're just doing it in their basement or something on the weekends or something like that. So it's important. Like, at least check it out. If it's something that you like, then go support it. All right. Definitely StrongIsland.com, StrongIsland.tv. There are live shows almost every day of the week.
At least Monday through Thursday, as of now, every night.
And and even Friday, Saturday, Sunday they replay, so you can check it out. A lot of good people on there. Definitely shout out. I want to shout out the Island Hop Show.
Okay.
G Wiz, Haynes Boogie, Little Character Mouse. My show was on right before theirs. Love those guys, and they're all awesome. So hopefully we'll get one of them on here.
Check it out, because there's a lot of different shows. It's not all, we have a variety shows.
Yeah, they're talk shows. Exactly.
We have a hair cutting show for haircutters and hairstylists, and there's a lot there. And if anybody's interested in having a show, they can contact me, because we do have slots open. So if anybody'd like to have a show of their own, whether it be about music or talk or comedy or just showcasing any of your talents, talk to me.
I'm gonna say that variety and diversity of Long Island that we were talking about is definitely evident on StrongIsland.com. So
right.
please.
And just in my email address, just so anybody does want to reach out to me, it is la@strongisland.com. Okay, initials la@strongisland.com.
So definitely just check that out. Real quick, everything else, djtracktion.com, which is more than likely where you'll be listening to this anyway, so you already know about that. You can find it on Twitter is @DJ Tracktion, and it's actually kind of the name of the podcast now. It's OnTrack @DJ Tracktion is the Twitter handle now, so easy to find. I've been said, just Google DJ Tracktion and you'll find it. It'll all pop up. If you're using Stitcher, save us on there, on iTunes. Even if you don't listen to it on iTunes, rate it there, because it's a big help. So, give us 5 stars. If you can leave a couple comments, that'd be cool too. But at least try to give us the 5 stars. What else? Really, I'm bad at this promotion shit. It's not it's not my cup of tea. And speaking of just trying to figure out ways to make money with what you love doing, I got some side projects going on. YouCan'tParkForShit.com. Just check it out. Maybe we can get some traffic going there. TheBetterYouBlog.com is something I'm working on currently. It already has a Facebook page, The Better You. It's more like nutrition, health, exercise, stuff like that. Things that'll hopefully better your life, or better yourself as a person. What else? And then, djtracktion.com for club stuff mostly. Visual Sounds NY or visualsoundsli.com for private events. Redoing that website as well. A lot of stuff going on. So thanks again for listening, and for everyone continuing to. Even if you stream it, try to download it anyway, because it's just easier to track. Even if it's like that thing I was talking about with Glow. Even if you delete it as soon as you download it, that's fine. At least I get the tick, and we get the credit for it being downloaded. It's a little easier to track. So I appreciate it. Trying to get other sponsors onto the show, you got to show them numbers, so we can keep it going. Everybody enjoy your day, week, night, whenever you're listening to this, and we'll be back hopefully next week or whenever. Like I said, I'm just trying to get all these interviews in and everything so I can stay a little more consistent doing it every week. Because, shit happens. Life is busy for people. Not everybody can record on a fucking Thursday at 12 o'clock. So, we keep it going, though. Thanks for listening. Till next time. Peace out.